won't belong there. So you won't belong.
Yo, yo, yo. All right, there we go. Can y'all hear me now? All right, there we go. Let me know if you can hear me now. I see something on the population right there. Let me know. All right, shout out to Preference and Passion in the building. All right, there we go. Yeah, I had to fix it right. But we are on today. And damn, all right, let's get it started. Let's go straight to it. Come on, so what makes you think you're gonna talk about generational wealth out here? Passing down stuff from generation to generation. Yeah, I could say that to a certain degree. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. But I'm gonna show you a different way of how generational wealth is being passed upon. Because I made a kind of a new idea that there's the old world and there's the new world. Kind of like One Piece. One Piece had the old world and now the current world is the new world. Like the Old Testament and the New Testament. So the Old Testament of the community ended with the boomers. I don't care what nobody says. I don't care what nobody brings apart to disagree. The old world ended with the boomers. Yes, sir. The new world started with Generation X and went down to millennials, to Gen Z, to alphas. So we're talking about the new world here. I might do an old world episode later on. I might, if we get enough people to go on here, I might do one. But I wanted to talk about the new world and what are they passing down to the generations? What are they giving to these new generations, right? So let me start off with this music video first to get y'all, get you guys acclimated. Let's see. Shout out to this guy.
Leave them. And if we leave it in the hands of other people, they're going to be misguided, and then they're going to be trying to do what we're trying to do now, and it's going to keep repeating itself. The cycle, all right? The cycle ends now. We chop the neck off, and we take control of the community. Let's stop blaming the teachers. Let's stop blaming the government. Let's take control of what we do. And as entertainers and professionals, we have the biggest voice, all right? We are the artists. So let's make history. This is what we do. Wealth. I'm not a fighter, I'm a reminder for myself and others. You hear a J line, I'm only educating my brothers.
Yo, I ain't ish for this, but I thought this was Aunt T for a second. I'm not gonna lie. I just want to pause real quick and say that. I really thought that was Aunt T rapping. Cause I was like, yo, Aunt T got a little flow. He got a little flow to go with him. But I guess the artist name is DMTS. I don't know what it stands for. It's called generational wealth. Now, the term generational wealth, I really started hearing this from Gen Xers, then the millennials. So those two generations, that's why I heard about generational wealth. I didn't hear about it from boomers. Yes, I grew up around boomers. Yes, yes. I know boomers got their own stuff, a lot of stuff that, people want to talk about, but the generational wealth really started with Gen X. That's one of their go-tos. You got like you playing basketball. Your go-to move, a hook shot, or a three-point shot. Gen X got the generational wealth shot. So let me let it play.
Hating my sisters in the youth forever. What you thought? We was gonna be screwed forever? We follow the blueprint. Young forever. Pass the story to my son's ears. He passed it to his son's ears. A blessing to my grandkids and all my other friend kids. We gonna get smarter every year. Yeah. So every step you take, remind them you woke. Cause every step you make, they gon' remind you broke. Not paper broke, wealthy broke. Understand there's a difference. They'll give you all the money you want. They own the business. Wealth is empowering. Money is an illusion. For years we've been miseducated and steady losing. Now we a bit educated and understand. They playing for control, nigga, power and land. You understand? It's time that we come together in the form of art and create our own and develop our own and own our own, so we can become the forefathers of this creativity in Connecticut and give it to the next generation.
Now, there's so much here. There's so much here to go on upon. Let's start with the rap music. Let's go with that. Let's break that down a little bit, right? From the rappers' mouths themselves, they don't make enough money to even have generational wealth. So you're using a genre of music, I don't know if you want to call it genre of music, that most people in your generation, maybe you Gen X, maybe you millennial, are not even making money from. But in order to make people relate to it, which is your generation, Gen X, millennial, maybe Gen Z, but he looks a little older. You got to use rap music. There's no other way around it. You can't use jazz music and say generational wealth. You can't use classical music and talk about generational wealth. You can't use folk music and talk about generational wealth. Shoot, the blues would have been fire, but name a Gen X or a millennial that can actually accurately make blues music. There hasn't been a BB King in the Gen X millennial group in like ever. Plenty of rappers though. Plenty of rappers.
Kick back and said, look what we have created. The most beautiful things is not the watches and chains or the beauty you see in material things. It's the things you can't touch and the things you can't hold. Take the lessons from me. It's the things you can't.
I see this red, green, and black flag. Now, chat. We know this is Gen X as hell. This is where the pro-black stuff come from. I want you guys to pay attention. Not every Gen Xer displays this type of behavior. Let me put that out there. Not every millennial presents this behavior. But there is a lot of them that we have to start noticing to put it there. I know sometimes like the people like to put the blanket of race on there. That's cool. For me, race is like the pillow on the bed. It's not the blanket. It's not the blanket. It's not covering the whole bed. It's not the bedspread. It's just the pillow. The Gen X millennials, the generations, is what is really the bed cover. That's covering the whole bed. The bed is the generation, whatever you want to call it, the culture, whatever you want to call it. That's it. If I was to make a bed, race would be the pillow. But now I know boomers have displayed some kind of, radical pro-black behavior. He tried to dress up as pro-black, do the whole classy thing, and get out the car. Got his polo shirt on, but then so you see the holes in the jeans right here. That's a Gen X millennial style. And then you got the red, green, and black flag over there. In Connecticut, Connecticut is one of the most whitest states on the Northeast. Period. You know, the black areas are really closer to New York City than they are to further out Connecticut. Let me just put that out there and let it play.
Touch and the things you can't hold. Take the lessons from me or take the lessons from home. Take the teachings from Kendrick, Ricky Ross, or Cole. The 50th law is like a book full of gold. So think and grow rich, this is food for the soul. These are some of the things they don't want you to know. They don't want you to learn or even want you to grow. You see, I want you to know because you one of my own. Be yourself, be great, be on top of the globe. But always remember, hate is part of the road. First they hate you, then they love you, then they hate you again. So take the good with the bad, happy with the sad. Some raised by their mom, some by their dad. Some got both parents, some got none. But as long as you got you already won. You the one.
It's interesting because I heard you say this one time. I watched a video and you were talking about this, and it like struck me. It makes perfect sense. And you were talking about foundation, and you said how like you're laying the foundation now for your kids so that they don't have to lay it for somebody else. And nobody ever laid that foundation for us.
Yes.
So we never. So it's like now we're like the first ones who are like
figuring it out.
Let's build this foundation. And when you look at like a lot of success stories,
you ever hear these words, foundation? You ever hear these words? It's a lot of like empty words they say a lot of times. It's a lot of empty words. No real meaning beyond that. What is the foundation? I heard this song. I didn't really get what he was saying besides stuff we're gonna get our wealth from stuff we already don't know. Now it's an okay song. I mean, I like it. Shout out to this guy DMTS. DMTS, you do look like Auntie. I'm not gonna lie. I thought there was an Auntie for a quick second. I'm not. So this is what it says on the summary here, or the transcript. Let me show the transcript real quick. I might do okay. So the last part here, success stories. They talk about their parents. They talk about their grandparents, how they laid that foundation. Is like we're the first generation doing it after ours. I mean, we were born in the crack era. Okay. Crack era automatically gives me millennial vibes. If you're born in the crack era, you're automatically a millennial. I mean, that's crack era. Unless you're born in the early 90s, you're still a millennial, but crack era. Yeah, where a lot of parents were doing drugs. A lot of our dads were never there. Oh, all right. This is Gen X, millennial. Because this is the only time I see those two generations really getting along is when they ready to bash the boomers. And there's a YouTuber that always talks about everything is boomers' fault. Everything is the boomers did it. They messed up the bag, but we never speak about how Gen X was the main ones. For my time when I was living, I was born in the early 80s. They were the main ones that were selling the drugs during the crack era. They were the main ones who were doing the drugs in the crack era, along with the boomers. I'm not gonna lie, the boomers were doing it too. But the Gen Xers was selling the crack. The millennials came on later on when it was dying out. Now the deadbeat dads, all of that stuff. Shout out to SKC, eat, sleep, fight, bust. There's a lot of that going on. A lot of that eat, sleep, fight, bust. So they want to lay that foundation. They don't know what the foundation. If you didn't come out of a situation that showed the foundation, how are you going to build a foundation from something you really don't have knowledge about because it wasn't passed down? because that's what the name of the song is called, generational wealth. So something had to be passed down to you, like a foundation, and now you have to start from scratch. I mean, if I was this gentleman here, I would have said started from the bottom. That's Drake. Shout out to A Truism in the chat. Flies through the window. Caw, caw, caw. Shout out to A Truism. A Truism, shout out to you. I'm just gonna go on a little bit on Gen X's and Millennials real quick. You're not one of them. You actually freed yourself from this generational wealth. You made your own. Got your own foundation, started it, kept it going. Shout out to you. You're not one I'm talking about. But it does seem like, a lot of those two generations, because this is the new world. This is the New Testament of the community. We had the Old Testament of the community, which was Boomer, Silent Generation, Greater Generation, blah, blah, blah. Now we have the New Testament or the New World, which is Gen X, Millennials, Gen Z. Even this, let's shout out to SYSBM. SYSBM faces its most, I want to say, adversarial kind of, how can I put this? They face their most venom from these two generations. SYSBM was mainly created, I don't know if it's true, and I want to ask somebody who might know, because of these two generations. This is where it went downhill. It went downhill with these two generations. But I'm going to start with the present now. I'm going to start with the present of generational wealth. So we're going to do that right now. Give me 1 second. Let me pull this up for you. One second. Let me see if I can get this going. Let's see. All right. 1 second, y'all. 1 second. All right. It's trying to connect, but while it's doing that, I'm going to just share the screen. Let's see if we can do that. All right. All right. Boom, boom, boom. Let's get that guy out of there. All right. There's this show called Pop the Balloon. And I don't know what to call it. It's really a show of millennials to me, because the age group is millennial age group people. And they're trying to find love, or what they think is love. So let's check out a couple clips and let's see what the generational wealth they're giving out to the youth. You say boomers? I'll say the reason why I don't say boomers, because I grew up in the era. You the true. I'm from New York City, right? And I remember boomers did not like rap. I remember they was totally against it. Now eventually they folded. I'm not gonna lie, they did fold. But at first they were staunchly against it. They were staunchly against any shameful type culture. I would love to have you on sometime if you can. But let me get through this. But I do have that. I might do the old world on that one. That's the old world. That's the Old Testament. Because like boomers ain't relevant today. There's no cultural thing that they're relevant today in, unless they're famous. The average boomer is not relevant in today's culture. They're not out there, But Gen X, and so I said not all Gen X, but Gen X right now, they're like the grandfather, early grandfather, young grandfather age, young grandmother age. And we're going to get to them in a little bit. But millennials right now are the mothers and fathers of the children today. And this is why I want to attack more of the generational. Because I do believe it's real, because media, culture, it all changes generation by generation. Millennials try to do what Gen X tries to do and fails horribly. They want to recreate Freaknik. They want to recreate everything that Gen X did. Gangster rap, they call it drill music now. They want to recreate everything that Gen X does, because they don't have anything of their own to stand on. They really don't. So let me play this real quick, and then we'll get to that. Let's go with this one.
Look like they need a little cleanup.
Look like
Your face looks like it needs a little cleanup. Stop your nice little boy. Go walk with Grace.
You're dirty.
How about you
You're
walk
dirty.
with Grace?
You're dirty.
Anyways.
You look waste. You're just trying to look.
Okay, all right, listen.
Tryna
Just
beg.
go.
You
Go.
don't
You got what you wanted, TV fame, right? Like, go. Like, what do you want me to body you? Don't play with me, nigga.
There we go. Now I don't know how old these people are, but I'm gonna assume they're like older millennial age. Let me just put it at least mid-30s to 40s. This is the generational wealth they passing down, man. They passing this down to their kids. Look at this guy right here. He's even shocked. The other guy who just got hit trying to figure out what happened. He's talking to his friend over here, or in millennials worlds, his man's, and this chick over here. Now they all in FBA words tethers. Now this is key. The tethers of the millennial age are just as horrible as anybody else here. There's no difference between a tether, FBA. To me, I call the FBA's alligators because it's American. The tethers are crocodiles. I'm going to stand on it. No monkey here. They are crocodiles. They're dangerous. You don't go into their waters and think you're going to be safe. So the crocodiles here, which are maybe like Caribbean crocodiles, is a little feisty over here. They don't know how to talk to each other without being adversarial. Shout out to Preference and Passion. This is why SYSBM exists. And this is why I'm telling you guys, like, you guys are going to build outside of all of this. You guys are going to be the ones that build outside of this. Hopefully you guys spread your message, grow bigger with more valid people, because I think SYSBM is the way. I think that this generational wealth that they're presenting, which is the New Testament of the community, is just too violent. They do not know how to talk to each other. They do not even know how to say hi to each other without fighting. And these are crocodiles. These ain't American alligators. These are crocodiles. You used to hear, oh, the crocodiles, the foreign crocodiles are a little nicer than the alligators. Well, not this time.
No, I'm not.
Amazing. Yeah, that's what they're gonna pass down to their kids, how to hit each other with a mic. Shout out. Conservative, what up? Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna check that out. Definitely do a relationship stream. But back to this. Millennials, I think, are the worst outs of the two generations to give any type of quote unquote generational wealth advice. Yeah, the new Nibba Testament is insane. Yeah, the Community New Testament. It starts here. Like, the first book of the New Testament, it started with Gen X. Now we're in the middle of it with the millennials. And this is why it's more dangerous with the millennials. Gen X was, if you were a thug, you were a thug, right? You were street dude. Now with the millennials, quote unquote, you got the educated. You got the ones that's in office, in powerful positions, and they cannot seem to properly behave. They can't behave. And they can't blame their parents either, because they're grown now. They're adults now. So you've been around these other people. But that, generational wealth, though. Let's see this one.
And your answers were just as good as you look. But I have one more question for you, though. Before I decide if I actually pop my balloon, could you give me a kiss?
What did you say?
Shit.
You want what?
I want a kiss.
To know if it's a kiss or something?
Something like that. I just want to see if it's easy.
You are not licking your lips? Let me see if you go shamelessly. Should you say someone shaking ash? Let's see now.
Like on your cheek?
On the cheek?
Forehead?
Don't play with me. Give me a kiss.
Come here.
But the game was 5 minutes.
The reason why I kissed her, because I was going to choose her anyway.
But, okay. But, I'm transgender.
This is all the way some millennial shit. This is all the way some millennial ish right here. This is millennial ish chapter 1 dash 16, right? Nibbers, thou love trannies, right? Not all nibbers, but certain nibbers. They love trannies. They like the trans fat. They like the trans fat. They like the Optimus Prime. They like the Bumblebee. They like all of that. This is a millennial ish. And H was me in the chat. Confirm this with me. Gen X never did this. Even though later on they would do some funny business, they never did this in their time when they was the same age as these people. And then the women were in on the joke. That's the scary part. Yeah, these Nigerian crocodiles is dangerous too. Those are the most dangerous ones. The the West African crocodiles are some of the most dangerous ones. You got to watch out for them. You got to watch out for them West African crocodiles. They're something else. Even they said on this caption, they lucky. This is some millennial English. Shout out to Ray J. Shout out to my trans niggas. Yeah, Freak Nick wasn't playing that. Yeah, it wasn't. And it was all fun back then. The problem what I have with millennials, and whenever I hear them talk in spaces or on this online thing, they have no idea what they're talking about. None of them. I don't care who you put up as a millennial. They don't know what they're talking about. Gen X has some more experience, and even though they had their fuckery, they kind of grew up. You know what I'm saying? Millennials, I just for me personally, I don't think they have it in them to grow up. And I'm a millennial too. I'm a millennial, and I've seen it. That's why I'm talking heavy now, because I don't see millennials growing up. They're still doing stuff like this. And the women now are doing stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? So this is why it's even more dangerous. And they was all in on it. That's the crazy part. Amazing. All right, let's see what's over here. Let's see. Generational wealth. The love language. The love language of generational wealth. Let's see this. This one look interesting. Let me see this one.
All right, y'all. Yeah, I'm not messing with the hair.
Yeah, bro, I'm just not with the braids. Hell no.
I ain't gonna lie, it's the shoes, man. You got the little Harriet Tubman 3s on.
I feel like she cut up the dress by herself.
Yeah, facts.
I feel like the dress could have given a little bit more. This is my opinion.
Yeah. Did I miss anybody? Oh, yeah. Shorty tough.
How do you feel about it?
Yeah, how do y'all feel about that?
We don't give a fuck.
Y'all don't give a fuck, right?
No.
Y'all just got eliminated.
Type shit. Okay, and who are you?
It wasn't given, Oh, y'all got eliminated. Y'all got to go.
No, you go.
You have to pay for it.
I don't think that's how this goes.
Yeah, man, that generational wealth, man. These kids gonna get some generational wealth passed on to them, man. The millennials gonna make sure you get that generational wealth out here. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get all of that. First of all, they come like 10 nibbers deep. You know what I'm saying? It's Nibba Easus and his 12 disciples coming in to talk to the Holy Daggle. The Holy Daggle. And then go from there. It's amazing. Oof. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. But this whole thing right here is proof of millennials right now. Oh, I'm gonna get to Gen X in a moment. I'm gonna get to Gen X is a little late. I'm gonna leave them off, but I gotta talk about them. So let's go here. Let's see I want to see one that's not too crazy. Let's get popping. Episode 2. Let's get it popping. All right, let's see. I don't want to do too long videos. Let me see this one right here. Let's see this one. Oh my God. Hey, hold on. Is that Ike? Hold on. Is that Ike? Is that the Ike dude from that be with Obsidian and hold on. Is that the Ike dude that's because there's only I don't think there's that many albino Nigerians, man. I don't know. Maybe there's a number of albino Nigerians out here. But that don't look like Ike to you, man. That don't look like Ike, man. Ike out here. Let me go back. Hold on. I gotta go back. That's Ike right there, man.
I'm not surprised.
Why do you say you're not surprised, sir?
Because these people, they cannot know the thing that is good. Yeah. So definitely they will like to go for their sides too.
Puppets. You see me?
Oh my gosh. Yo. Nigerians, I think your social credit that you guys have been coasting on for years is about to be over. Because I think the millennials going to drag it down with y'all. You know what I'm saying? All the groups of millennials is going to be dragged down. That's why I'm worried for when the Gen X's get extra old, the boomers are not here no more. The San generations, there's not even none of them here. And all we got left is millennials. Bro, we in trouble. I don't care what none of y'all say. Look at what they making, man. You got midgets and Ike. He's out here chasing Webster. That look like Gary Coleman right there. That like Gary Coleman. This one look like, I don't know if you guys watched wrestling back in the day. They used to have Little Tokyo and Little Haiti back in the day. And they took on King Kong Monday. That looked like Little Tokyo. And that looked like Little Haiti right there. You know, Little Tokyo, Little Haiti. Little Haiti was in, he was in a few movies back in the day, man. But, man, now the midgets, the disabled people, that's some millennials include everybody. That's my biggest beef with them. Everybody got to get included. Shout out to the New Testament of Nippers. Should I keep it playing? My bad.
I'm not surprised.
Oh, you see that one with the forehead right there? Oh, no. Oh, man. Ike, man. You was doing programming. You was hosting with Obsidian and Theo, man. And this is what you going now, man? Oh, no. Come on. Say it ain't so, Ike. Say it ain't so, Ike.
Why do you say you're not surprised, sir?
Because these people, they cannot know the thing that is good. Yeah. So definitely they will like to go for their sides too.
Puppets. You see me?
Yeah, I can see. I cannot even see you. Because you are so limited.
Oh my God. Ope, and show how you do it well with your man. Bring it over to my
face. That's a millennial trait right there. Eastleigh Fight Bus is at hockey levels, Conquerors hockey levels for millennials. Gen X's have the old school hockey, but Conquerors hockey, the advanced Conquerors hockey of fuckery, goes to the millennials. Nobody can do fuckery like the millennials. I don't care what nobody says. Nobody. The fuckery's real with the millennials. Look at this. A midget twerking on an albino. And you could have just put these people in a zoo and they would have made more money. You put them in a zoo, you know, the circus. I miss the circus back in the days. And you could have made money. Nigeria, y'all doing it wrong, man. I don't know what you guys doing this. And then why you guys have a number of dwarfs and midgets in Nigeria? See, Africa, man, there's something with Africa that produces a lot of freaky stuff. And they can't blame it on nuclear waste. Ain't no nuclear waste in Africa. This is genetic, man. This is genes working here. And not Levi's either.
You know what you did to me, You're fucking loud.
I'm actually looking for a store. It's somebody like Sandra Benede.
Want to kiss her? How do you kiss her? Let's say I'm Sandra and I'm tall like her she is. How do you kiss her?
You just have to bend down.
You don't have. You just have to climb the chair.
Well, if it comes to that, yeah, I go.
How would you want to do it?
But will you kiss me?
That's the millennials in a nutshell. Holding their kids and sexualizing them. That's the image right there. Look at that smile right there. I'm about to take this little boy home, and he don't know what I'm about to do with him. I'm about to get a credit card in his name. I'm about to scam his whole family. But I'm gonna give him that gawk gawk. I'm gonna give him that gawk gawk before I scam him. All right. And millennials, not really Gen Xers, but millennials are gonna, the biggest generational wealth they probably pass down their kids is student loans. Student loans. Now, we've done multiple episodes. Shout out to Conservative, BCP, SKC. They that rhyme. But shout out to all of them. Student loans is going to be the biggest generational wealth move ever. So, you young kids, if you have millennial parents, there's a good chance in that will say, you're going to pay for my student loans after I pass on. And then they're going to show you the true number. You know? So let's check out this one right here. Let's go with this one.
My name is Jacob, and my concentration is environmental science and sustainable business.
Hi, my name is Lex, and my concentration is the performance of self.
Hi, I'm Gabrielle. My concentration is creative direction.
Business.
Hi, my name is Lex, and my concentration is the performance of self.
Now, what is the performance of self? What does that mean? What is the performance of self? Like, how do you rate yourself? Do you look in the mirror and rate yourself? You know what I'm saying? First of all, it looked like he got a pocketbook on. It looked like he got a strap. There's a strap, and there may be a pocketbook attached to it. I mean, this dude didn't bother to wear a shirt and a tie. And this is a millennial thing. Millennials really, really embrace this. They really embrace the sloppy dressing, non-professional look. If you notice, if you go to the office or you go to work anywhere, let's just say you drive trucks and you see people downtown, you don't see that professional look anymore over time. You see it start to go away and fade away. And it's right here. Right here. Performance of self. This one over here. Now, I don't know where they graduated from. It looks like Gallatin. I don't know what Gallatin. Let me look that up. Maybe it's Gallatin University. Let me see that. Gallatin University. Let's see what that is. The Gallatin School of Individualized Study. It's in New York City, in Warren, Washington Place. And guess where it's close to? Coach, Nordstrom, Zara, and the Federal Republic. Now, I don't know what type of school this is. Doesn't have, it has a Wikipedia. Let's check it out. I'm going to check it out real quick. I'm going to read it out to you. I'm not going to share the screen. I'm just going to show you. All right. It's a liberal arts school. So, liberal arts is a millennial move, man. That is one of the biggest New Testament moves ever. Shout out to the millennials, though. Shout out to them. Liberal arts. They're out here. Liberal art in it. You got, let's see. They got 1,500 undergraduates, 147 graduates. I don't know who came out of this school here. Let's see. Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen went to this school. That should tell you enough right there. Barbara Whitman, Cole Sprouse, Dylan Sprouse, all actors went to this school, and actresses. I don't see any chemists, engineer. I just see one businessman and a bunch of actors and film people. So this has to be a film school. This got to be a film school right here. The Gallatin Liberal Arts at its best.
Hi, I'm Gabrielle. My concentration is creative direction, production, and narrative through the arts, performance, and written word.
Hi, my name is Karina Gomez, and my concentration is in journalism and Latin American studies.
My thing is all about this, right? How are you Spanish and you major in Latin American studies? Your whole life was Latin studies. mixed in with being American. If you an American, right? You're not hopping over the border. You know, you're not a fan from the crowd trying to run over the railing. You were born in America and you Latin. Why are you majoring in Latin American studies? See, this is what they're gonna leave their kids. This is what they're going to leave their kids. Student loan, man. You kids, man, you guys better be careful, man. You waiting for mama or papa, usually mama, to croak the bucket, and you like, man, I'm about to get that new house, the insurance. I'm about to get some money out of the insurance. And these are Gen Alpha, Gen Z kids. They like, man, I'm about to get that money. And then you just find out she got a whole bunch of student loan debt, and you now have to pay it back as the child. Oh, that's that generational wealth, man.
With an emphasis in human rights, collective memory, and political violence.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Lee, and I studied the sociology of environmental communication.
Hold on. I don't know what type of Asian she is. I don't know. From the eyes, she could be Japanese or Korean. I don't know. I'm very. I know Japanese got a little more. The eyes are not as chinkier as the Chinese, maybe, but I don't know. And first of all, she got her nails. They're all holding their phones. They're all holding their phones as if the phone is the. I don't know. The phone is their partner in life. I don't know, man. I have no clue. But let's see.
Hi, my name is Reed, and I study music business and gender studies.
Hi, my name is Dominique, and I studied care politics with a minor in disability studies.
My name is Elliot Wright, and my concentration is art as a social mechanism.
This is the biggest millennial red flag out here. And then I got it. Shout out to all my white people. Shout out to all of them. But when people talk about, I hear guys like Orthodox Guy, Bumpkin, I hear all those guys, Snowman. Throw the white guy name in there. I hear all of them, right? I think they gotta address this. Because, and I know, yeah, we got the black side too. But or whatever you want to call it, the community side, whatever you want to call it. But this is really a millennial thing right here. And the softer, this is why people joke about millennials. They're soft. And this is the main reason why. Say what you want about Gen X, and I talk about they fuckery, but they are not doing this. They not doing this. They not going. You think Kurt Cobain is going to do this? The kids that listen to Kurt Cobain, Rage Against the Machine, they might exhibit some tendencies like that, but they're not going all the way out here like this. And you notice he's all with the girlfriends. Ain't smashing none, just with them. Just with them. Just a hang along. All right, shout out to JB Design says, seems like in this day and age, the real generational wealth is in being able to financially protect yourself from the dog shit decisions of your parents. That's very true. But these millennials, they didn't have dog shit decisions because they went to Gallatin University. This is a pretty prestigious. I don't say prestigious, but it probably costs a lot to go to this school because there's a lot of actors that go to this school. So they're not all dog shit decisions. I understand where you're coming from because there were some boomers that made some dog shit decisions. Matter of fact, a lot of them. But regardless, there was some that actually did right. And this is the result of their parenting right here. This is the result. This is the result right here. I mean, I don't know if his parents are divorced. I don't know if he's raised by his mama and pappy. Got a grandfather in his life because millennials, as long as you have a father, you're okay. Not a grandfather. Gen X know about that. Shout out to my Gen X. They know about grandfathers, how important they are. A lot of them were raised by grandfathers. A lot of millennials, as long as you have a father, you pass the brass tacks. That means, you're functional. But this one right here, this right here is screaming millennial to the T generational wealth. What is he gonna pass down to anybody? What is this young person, this young man gonna pass down? He got a concentration in a social mechanism. Let me look up social mechanism. Let me look that up. Social mechanism, meaning A system of parts whose connections enable them to interact in ways that produce regular changes. In the social context, these parts typically include individual people or groups, and the mechanisms help explain how social phenomena occur. Additionally, social mechanisms are often linked to causal relationships that help explain why certain outcomes happen in society. So this dude is going to be leading you guys in social mechanisms. Good luck on that. Oh yeah, definitely. I think you're right on this because shout out to you on JB Desires. He says I meant from the perspective of that situation you were talking about once they pass away. My parents ain't like that though. You're right though. You're right. You're definitely right. There was a lot of debt passed on to both generations, Gen X and millennials. They had a lot of debt passed on. But I don't know if it's going to equal amount to the millennial debt that they're going to pass on to their kids. Like boomer debt is one thing. Burgers was 10 cents when they was alive. When they was young kids, 15 cents a burger. The houses was probably $5,000, $10,000. And now it's even more expensive. Let me keep it flowing.
Hi, I'm Georgia, and my concentration is dramatic writing and theatrical adaptation.
My name is Noah Loyacano, and my concentration is equilibrium or negotiated.
My man said his concentration is head and negotiated paradox. Equilibrium or no. How do you have an or if it's your concentration? How does that word or fit into a concentration? When you are concentrated on something, it is direct. Or should not be in there. So you're using it as a link for alternatives. And this is crazy. My concentration is equilibrium or negotiated paradox. Oh my gosh.
Paradox.
Hi, my name is Sophie Lopez, and my concentration is titled Queering and Decolonizing Theater Practice.
I'm done. Queering. All right, is there a word called queering? Let me queering. Queering. Let me see. This is millennials right here. Queering. The New Testament of the community. Yes. Queering is a technique used to challenge heteronormativity by analyzing places in the text that use heterosexuality or identity binaries. Oh my gosh. So this coming out of queer theory in the late 80s and 90s. Gen X. Boomers too. But that was the generational wealth that was passed on to her, was this, and now she's going to pass it on to the youth. And what does decolonizing theater practice mean? What does that mean? What does decolonizing theater practice mean? Is white supremacy in Broadway? Is white supremacy? That's the only place I see this chick even making is in Broadway. And you wonder why your movies is horrible. You wonder why your shows are horrible. You wonder why everything that involves media is horrible. Because it is. This is millennials right here. Millennials have nothing to offer. And I think that millennials are going to have these conversations. What are we going to do when we are the people that are in that 40 to 50 age bracket, possibly even going to 60? Because 2030 is approaching. We are 5 years away from 2030. 2030, all of the 80s babies will damn near be 40, if they're not already. Some will be in their late 40s, some will be in their mid 40s, some will be in their early 40s. Then 2030, we'll be creeping in on our 50s. And this is what this generation is here to offer. I see why Andrew Tate is big. I see why Andrew Tate is big. I see why the Fresh and Fits of the world are big. Because Gen Z and the alphas, I think they don't like the millennials. I want to talk to a Gen Z one day. Not like a younger one, like, not too young, but like a younger one, conversation wise, to see how they feel about millennials. Because millennials have been walking under that blanket of safety and no criticism for a long time. And the only ones that really call them out is like Gen X. Shout out to Aaron Clary. I think that's his name, Aaron Clary or Clarity. I forget his name. He calls them out. There's a few other Gen Xers that call out millennials, but there's not really that much smoke for them. Because what the hell is queering and decolonizing theater practice mean? Let me just look up theater practice. What does that mean? Like, what does theater practice mean? There is no meaning to that. That's another thing. Millennials just make up stuff. I got a theater practitioner. Okay, they create theatrical performances or produce a theatrical discourse that informs their practical work. A theater practitioner may be a director, dramatist, actor, designer, or a combination of these traditionally separate roles. Theater practice describes the collective work that theater practitioners do. The term was not ordinarily applied to theater makers prior to the rise of modernism in the theater. So this is new. This is new. This is a new kind of thing. And the footnotes and the references lay back to the late 90s. So this is not even tradition. They want to knock out all the tradition that brought them into Broadway. And I don't even care for Broadway. I think Broadway's for failed actors. Sorry. I like opera better. And this shit got a Mexican flag, a flag of the sun, different type of flags, NYU, class of 2024. Oh boy, this is Gen Z right here, probably.
Hi, my name is Maya, and my concentration is journalism, post-colonial studies, and psychoanalysis.
Hi, I'm Eloise. I'm graduating with a concentration in philosophy of science and theater.
My name is Amina, and my concentration is titled The Criminal Mind, which is surrounded on criminology and applied psychology.
Hi, my name is Juliana. My concentration is international business and fashion through sustainable development. Yay!
I ain't gonna front. Shout out to the white girl here. Now, yo, the white girls is winning, okay? The white girls is winning, and they're not just winning because of the white beauty standards. They're not winning because of white supremacy. They winning because what they plan on doing makes sense. She's going to be a fashion designer through sustainable development, which I think is probably that recycled clothes stuff, probably plastic bottles and turning it into clothes and trash and turn to clothes. I can see that working. This is probably the most sensible one out of all of them. She's the most sensible one. And she's dressed properly. She's not out there, she has a phone, it looks like. I can't really see it. But look at this big one right there. Got a phone over there. The Asian one got a phone over there. The white woman, that's why she's winning.
My name is Jake.
And this is why student loans is going to be the new generational wealth. It's going to be the new generational wealth. We've seen all these videos before. The bonnet one, this one. Oh, man. Let me see what I could find here. I don't think I've seen this one yet. Let me see what they're talking about.
Oh, and another thing, you can tell FAFSA to go on right to hell, and I'll meet them there. I'm not giving y'all a goddamn cent of my money, okay? Money that I don't have, by the way, but even if I did have the money to pay for it, you're still not getting it. Y'all the one that forced us to go in the first place, telling us that if we didn't go to college, we weren't going to amount to nothing. And
yep, this is a millennial right here. This is a millennial blaming like a mug. All right, here we go. First off, we weren't going to be nothing without a college degree. She looks kind of tomboyish. I'm not going to say masculine. I refuse to call these chicks masculine because there's nothing masculine about them. Masculinity requires thinking, concise thinking, patience, strength, you name it. And these chicks, no matter how you think they're masculine, they don't display those traits. They don't. Just because they bark on nibbers don't make them masculine. It makes them irrational. Let's get that right. Now, this one in the comments says a generation of youngsters were lied to. a degree in something was not the path to prosperity. I don't think this person, Kai Red, understands if they went to school, let's just say she went to school 10 years ago. She graduated in like 2015. The internet was out for her to just go on Google and look up how much her loan was going to pay her, how much her degree was going to pay her once she graduates, what kind of jobs are available, what kind of jobs she can, negotiate for with her degree. So when I hear a generation of youngsters will lie to, that's a millennial trait that's the biggest millennial trait for me. Yeah. Shout out to Force. Yeah. Shout out to JB Design says, ironically, most of the dudes I saw in college with degrees were worth. Ironically, most of the dudes I saw in college with degrees were from other countries. You know what? I believe it because it depends on what school you go to, right? But the millennial nibbers in this space will throw out that most black, I'm gonna say it, most black men graduate college and go into jail. So that means they are going to college. I don't know if they're graduating or getting degrees. I don't know that, but they are going more than they are going to jail. That's according to them. So this female right here, who says she refused to pay back. I don't have money right now. She has a tattoos all over. Those tattoos probably ain't cheap, by the way. Those tattoos ain't cheap. If they are, that says a lot about her character. Let's play it.
And going to college is better than having a trade. And if you want to have this amount of money, then you need to. All lies. All lies. Most of us are unemployed. Most of
Were you unemployed prior to 2025 in January or February when Trump got in? Were you? I want to know that.
us are working in fields that have nothing to do with our degree. And you want my money. You can take that up with whoever you need to take it up with. Take it up with Jesus. I heard he paid it all. That's what they've been telling me. They say he paid it all and I'm going to let him pay it. So, y'all not getting a got.
You ever know those millennials like to change the Bible? They like to change the Bible. They like to change what's said in the Bible. They like to. Shout out to same here. Shout out to Preference of Passion. Shout out to JB Designs. Facts, bro. They know the value of our colleges better than the Americans sometimes. That's true. That is very true. But these chicks are the most educated. And I'm talking about the millennials now. Because the millennials can really own that most educated title because they were going to college the most. More so than the Gen Xers were. More so than the boomers were. They were the first ones that were when you graduate high school, you're going to college. And now that they're graduated, they got their degree, she's unemployed and now she can't pay back the loans. So let me see. Let's see. And it's not just the melanated folks. It's the white folks too. It's the white folks. It's the Spanish folks. I haven't seen no Asians here. Funny, I haven't seen an Indian or East, Chinese, Japanese, Korean talking about student loans. That's the part that really I'm looking for. I'm looking for like an Asian son. Hold on one second. Yeah, I'm looking for that one. I'm looking. Have yet to find one. So how was it that, and this is what goes to JB's point, they know the value of our colleges better than the Americans sometimes. The community of millennials in the New Testament do not know the value of anything. They really don't. That's why they mad at her. And she's a boomer.
In terms of budget, if you had to figure out what the education department does in terms of budget, it seems like the bulk of it is promoting college, university, Pell Grants, loans.
Yeah, that's just about it. It was almost, I think it was a little more than 40% of what the budget was, and the people in the Department of Education were really relative to student loans. And, that student loans used to be in the private sector. It was President Obama that brought it in and put it into the Department of Education, which is not a bank. So all of the collection process, et cetera, is all done through outside vendors, which you pay middleman fee to help to have that happen.
Wow, that's crazy. So if you just say you default on your loans, they have to hire a third party vendor or collection agency, which costs them money to get the money that you took out. Oh my gosh. Shout out to Linda McMahon, man. I always liked Linda, man. Whenever she came out in the late 90s, you always knew a big announcement was happening. She used to come out with the WrestleMania music. Dan, 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 dan. She used to come out with that. And now, she's doing big announcements in the student loan sector, the educational sector. She's doing that right now. Shout out to Linda McMahon, man. Vince McMahon, you chose right. You know what I'm saying? All your problems, Vince McMahon, that you might go through right now or in the past, I got to keep it real. She's a rider. There's not that many white women built like this anymore. I'm sorry. Look, I'm going to say this right now. There's not that many white women built like Linda McMahon anymore. Yes, I'm going there today. There's not that many white women built like her. And you go down to Gen Xers. Show me the Gen X white woman that's built like Linda McMahon. That ain't divorced their white husband within like 5-10 years. Ain't stayed with him. You know what I'm saying? Made moves. You know what I'm saying? Was under a powerful man and was doing her work too. If you know about Linda McMahon, she did a lot of work for Vince McMahon behind the scenes. And now she is right now in that position. Shout out to JB Designs. You a Gen Z? Okay, let's see. You a Gen Z yourself. One of the issues you notice with your generation is that only a few of us have any idea about how the world works and what's truly important. Let me ask you a question, JB. I'm just gonna ask you a general question. Are your parents both Gen Xers, or is like one Gen Xer, one millennial? What is your parental situation looking like in terms of generations? I want to know that one because I think a lot of Gen Zs, they have a lot of Gen X parents and millennial parents, especially they born because they were born in the late 90s to almost to 2010 era. It's 97 to 2012. And he says also, and those of us who understand what true value looks like are shut down or shouted down by the cancellation mob. That is crazy. I feel bad for you guys, man. That's freaking crazy. But back to Linda, man. There's very few white women. This is why I can't really diss the boomers. Because the boomers had the down ass women. Okay? They did. They did. And I know that makes Gen Xers mad sometimes. Seething. There's one that the boomers' fault. The boomers' fault. The boomers' fault. Everything. My boomer pappy was doing this and that. He was a bitch. Da da da. And I was like, bro, what did Gen X do that was so great? If you take out rap, and we talking about the community out here, you take out rap and sports and entertainment, what have Gen Xers done as a group to move forward? Say what you want about the boomers, they still making moves. And yeah, they holding us back from our positions. They're not trying to give it up. I understand why. Because if it was up to you guys, and I'm talking really to the millennials, if it was up to you guys, I'm gonna bookmark this too. If it was up to you guys would be in trouble. I'm gonna subscribe to Tom so well too. Shout out to him. I'm gonna subscribe. I'm not paying that $3 a month though. Yeah. I can keep that.
In terms of budget,
all right.
if you had to
Let me go back there.
In the Department of Education were really relative to student loans. And, that student loans used to be in the private sector.
She right. They used to be. Okay. Once in every generation. You damn right. I go live. You damn right, Clue. Salute. Yeah, salute. All right, let's see. He says his parents are both Gen Xers. I grew up upper middle class. Mom and dad fought to get out the hood and made sure my brother and I never went through what they did. And there's a lot of Gen Xers that do that. That's why I think a lot of Gen Zs, I think you guys sometimes underestimate yourselves. I really think you guys do, because I think you guys can definitely lead. Sorry, I mean millennials, I've seen it, man. The only way I see a millennial leading through the ashes is if they're JD Vance, they're young Caucasian gentlemen. I don't see the community leading anything if they're millennials. Gen Xers are behind the scenes. There's a lot of Gen Xers that work behind the scenes, so I can't really talk too crazy. There's a lot. You'd be surprised, a lot of Gen Xers that work behind the scenes that make the world are still moved today. So I'm not, but community wise, I don't know. I can't answer that one. But I've noticed that with a lot of Gen Zs, how you guys present yourselves, especially online. You guys present yourselves in a certain way, and it's not all of you, because Freeze on Loop played one the other day from the UK. That dude was losing his mind, and I'm not sure if he's Gen Z or whatever. That guy was losing his mind, talking about skin bleaching and getting clip-on earrings. Ugh, it was disgusting to watch. But Linda put it out there. It took her. This woman worked in the WWF. And I'm going to tell you why she's the best one to do it. Because if you know about wrestling people are the least paid amongst all entertainers not named Broadway. The NBA, the NFL, MLB, acting, TV shows, you name it. Wrestlers don't get paid like that, and they got to work all year. So it was perfect to bring a woman who comes from that sector, who's used to, hey, you guys going on every day. You're visiting country to country. You get your time off, but it ain't that much time off. We need you on TV. We need you to sign autographs. We need you to do the Make-A-Wish. This is the perfect lady for it. And Vince McMahon, I'm sorry, Vince McMahon, this is why I still like Vince McMahon. He's still winning. She ain't talk bad about Vince not one time. Not one time. After all this stuff went down, even this man right here, he probably Gen X, probably millennial. He gotta respect it. Let me let it play.
President Obama that brought it in and put it into the Department of Education, which is not a bank. So all of the collection process, et cetera, is all done through outside vendors, which you pay middleman fee to help to have that happen. So my view, and I've had good conversations with Secretary Bessent, and also the president and I and Scott Bessent have had conversations with Kelly Loeffler from SBA. So is there a mechanism that would be in place that would better serve this? And so in terms of collection process, et cetera, Treasury does that really well. And there is clearly a good acceptance from Scott's point of view that this would be a place to house. New loans going forward, we might consider looking at SBA to have sort of a guaranteed program, but that's really in future conversations. First of all, we want to make sure this collection process is working because, believe it or not, and I know COVID threw a wrench into things, but since March of 2020, right around COVID time, there has not been any collection for outstanding student loans. And why would they have? The Biden administration was saying, we're going to forgive your loans.
Right.
They tried to circumvent the Supreme Court and their rulings to forgive other loans, and it's just not fair to all taxpayers to have them pay for student loans when they might have paid their own, or their own taxpayer dollars should be spent in other ways rather than forgiving loans, except for service agreements which Congress has passed. So for those in public service, like teachers or first responders, a certain amount of payment that goes into their loans, and once those payments have been done, then they are allowed to be forgiven. We're talking about 10 years and a consistency of payments for that.
In terms of budget.
Shout out to Clue. He put in the chat. I'm about to let people up soon, man. Shout out to Clue. He says, as we get closer to 2053, which is about, let's see, we're 2025, about 18 more years. So if you have a kid born in 2025, by the time he's 18, the community will become further and further away from any leadership. Even public office strags will decrease. And I think this is in the New Testament of the community, the Revelations, where 2053 will be that time where they are oh, I said 28. Oh, I said 18. I'm sorry. 28. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was off by 10. Yeah, I'm sorry. Damn, Clue, you got me, man. Shout out to Clue. Yeah, but 2053, 28 more years, 30 more years. So if you got a kid born in 2038, woo, it's gonna be something. Sorry, it's 2025, 2035. I'm sorry. Woo. But yeah. And shout out to Linda McMahon, man. Shout out to her. It took Linda McMahon to find this out. Linda McMahon, she doesn't play that stuff. Making student loans public was a massive mistake and resulted in sky-high college. It took away risk from private companies and universities, meaning they had zero responsibility how much to change, as if it was always the federal government problem. Okay, I guess, but why is college tuition so high? All right, this is what I wanted to attack with the millennials, right? Shout out to Clue. He says, put them Baltimore Instruments calculator down. You damn right, Clue. I gotta put it down, man. I gotta put it down, man. Oh, man. All right, so why is college tuition so high? Well, why are you going to college if tuition is so high? Why? Why are you going? You're from Tennessee. You going to a school in California. Why? Shout out to Marissa Street or Straight. You know, they're clueless on everything. Damn.
In terms of budget,
This is millennials right here, man. They're gonna give you student loan. It don't matter the race. Shout out to Clue. There's no such thing as race. Everybody's gonna get effed, especially when the millennials come. Oh man, they get into their 30s and 40s right now. Clue, you know what I'm saying? Clue Gen Xer. You know, he sees what we going. He sees that millennials right now. There's only a few. That's why Andrew Tate is Andrew Tate. That's why Fresh and Fit is Fresh and Fit. You know, there's only so few of those guys coming out that are genuine and know what they're talking about. And this is why people are gravitating towards those guys. You know, the other guys, I don't know. But let's go to some real generational wealth real quick. We're going to talk about King Randall, the big homie. King Randall. Shout out to King Randall. Let's see what King Randall got right here. So King Randall, I think he's Gen Z. I think he might be, I don't know how old he is, but he's definitely not Gen X. He's definitely either millennial or Gen Z. And he has been doing this school for the longest, trying to teach people. Hold on. Let me see this picture real quick, though. So, this is King Randall right here. Look at my man, King Randall. King Randall got the one white boy, white kid right here. The rest, the New Testament of the community, they right there. Shout out to them. Shout out to them little future, see what they do in the future. I ain't gonna talk crazy about them. But you have that one gentleman right there. And to me, this is like if you get Jackie Robinson in the ML, when he was playing back then. This is gonna be the trailblazer. This right here. This, I think, you know what? Now looking at it, shout out to King Randall. I think you might have generational wealth. You keep this one boy around. I think you do. I think you do. They all smiling too. Look at them. They all happy. That's, shout out to young alphas, young Gen Zers. They going to the White House. They about to see it. So, and I'm not sure. Somebody put in the chat if he's Gen Z or not. I got to see King Randall. Let me put King Randall's age. I'm going to see. King Randall might be Gen Z. I think he is. I won't be surprised he's Gen Z. Let me see. I will not be surprised. Let me check it out real quick. Randall King. That's a country singer, man. Now I'm looking for King Randall. King Randall, not Randall King. No, that's the country singer. Randall King is 75. Who's King Randall? Yeah, King Randall, he ain't make it yet. He's not on, he's not there yet. But he's young. I don't know how old he is. I would say he's mid-20s. So that probably put him Gen Z. And this is why I said Gen Z gonna make it. Even right here, he didn't kick the boy out. Let's see this one.
Dipstick, when you pull it all the way out, when you wipe it off, it showed you how much oil is in the vehicle. You understand? Yes, sir. Even though this vehicle is full with oil, the oil is time for it to be changed. You understand? Yes, sir. So if you look at the car, if you look for your engine oil symbol, what symbol we looking for? The engine oil symbol. What symbol? Engine oil symbol. All right, so we look at.
I'll hold you. Little Anakin Skywalker already knew all this. That's why he bored. He like, my pappy taught me this. I used to learn this back in the day in South Georgia. My pappy worked in the mechanic shop. He used to drink a beer every night. But when he wasn't drunk, I learned about oil and all that. So, you ain't telling me nothing new, King Randall.
at the engine oil symbol, look at this cap right here. I'm gonna take it off, right?
Yes, sir.
What does this cap say right here?
OW20.
OW20. If you go look at most of your cars are gonna show you on the top what type of oil it uses. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Because you don't want to use the wrong type of oil. Got it?
Yes, sir.
So what we gonna find the type of oil?
OW20.
All right, so we're gonna find it on the cap, right?
Yes, sir.
We're gonna find it on the engine oil cap. Cool?
Yes, sir.
All right, so anyway, where we gonna find the type of oil at?
Engine oil cap.
On the where?
Engine oil cap.
Where we gonna find it?
Engine oil cap.
The engine oil cap. We good?
I do think though this one thing. I do think this one thing. I know a lot of dudes talk about stepdads, but say it's, shout out to the Baltimore. Yeah, that's just gonna be roll every time I see it. But the stepdad conversation never gets talked about. What if you are a stepdaddy to a white child? I know we heard about Steve the Dean. I know we heard about what's the other guy's name from Philadelphia? Oh man, Donovan Sharp. But what if you a stepdad to like the little Anakin Skywalkers of the world? Like what will be the result of a lot of Anakin Skywalkers who don't probably have a papa or grandpapa, and they trying to get a stepdad? I think that's where the King Randalls come in. I think that's where he come in. Now this boy, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. He got his dreadlocks in a certain way. This one got his braids in a certain way. This one got the Carmelo Anthony, not the NBA one, but the stabby one, the head Jew. And then this one looked like a random Chicago rapper. This one, he got a nice haircut. Shout out to little man, got a nice haircut. But then Anakin Skywalker in the background. I think Anakin's gonna be the one for King Randall. I think Anakin Skywalker is gonna be the one for King Randall. When King Randall does interviews 10, 20 years from now, I can see Anakin right there with him. I can see that. Matter of fact, Anakin might be the one that he passes his generational wealth to. We never know. But this is Gen Z. This is Gen Z right here. And he even knows it. King Randall knows it. He's like, let me put Anakin in the middle. Let him stand out. He got his, this is the brother. Him and Anakin probably best friends. You know what I'm saying? Him and Anakin best friends, He's got his pants, not below the waist, standing like a workman. I think he's going to be a workman. I think he's going to be HVAC, trucker. He's going to make some money. This young man right here going to make some money. Anakin's going to be the one. This one, he might, I can see him doing it too. I can see all these kids doing it. But King Randall is going to be that dude. Anakin will end up with a baddie 15 years from now. Baby, you never know. We never know. I shout out to Anakin. I love Anakin, man. I didn't know he had an Anakin with him. I thought it was all, the New Testament nippers. I didn't know he had some. And King Randall is, I think he's Gen Z. I don't know how old he is, but he's definitely doing the thing, man. Now, speaking of Gen X, we're gonna get to it right now. Umar Johnson. Oh yes, Umar Johnson, definitely Gen X all the way. Umar is definitely Gen X. If you see the link in the chat, if you want to hop in, feel free. We chop it up a little bit. This is Umar right here. Let me see Umar Johnson. Does he have a Wikipedia? Let's see. Oh, he does. So yeah, definitely Gen X. Definitely born 1974. And he's definitely a black activist, aka New Testament activist, right? And that's the Gen X thing. The Gen X is definitely Clue. Know what I'm talking about? This generation holds the activism mantle. I mean, you could talk to the psychopathist. I think that's the one from Texas, whatever. That's from Brooklyn. You can go down the list. He was in his 20s during the Roland Martin interview. Okay, he might be a young millennial. That's what's up. Shout out to the young millennials. I don't know how old he is, but Umar is one of those Gen X activists. If you notice, the most prolific pro-black activists are Gen Xers. Umar, Tariq Nasheed, I think the one from Detroit, I forgot his name. the light skinned dude. I don't know his name. The Captain Tazariak. You know, the oh man, who am I missing out here? I'm missing somebody. I'm missing somebody that's an activist. Who am I missing? BLM, you know, they might be, I'm not sure. But that's when it switched over. Back then, the activists were men in Gen X's. Let me say that. Or Hotep. Yo, Wikipedia has the definition of Hotep. Let me show you this real quick before we want to switch over. Yeah, Tariq is definitely Gen X. Yeah, he's definitely Gen X. All right, so Hotep are members of an African American subculture that appropriates ancient Egyptian history as a source for a black pride. They have been described as promoting pseudo history and misinformation about African American history. Hoteps espouse a mixture of black radicalism and social conservatism. Notable people who have promoted Hotep ideas or have been described as part of the Hotep subculture include Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, and Umar Johnson. Yo, Umar Johnson is some big company then. Kyrie and Kanye, but Kanye did say he did like Nathan's when he was younger. He liked Nathan's with no buns, just straight Nathan's. Kyrie, you know, but Umar's in that company. Hoteps will denounce homosexuality and interracial marriage, promote the view that black women should be subordinate to black men, oppose LGBT rights and feminism, which they view as inimical to black liberation. They also promote anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Yeah, that's more Gen X. That is Gen X right there. Shout out to Gen X. That's them. That's them. Shout out to Free Zone Lou. Salute Free Zone. Let me put the link in the chat if y'all want to come in and talk real quick. You know what I'm saying? I've done talked for like an hour. Let me put y'all in there, man. So this is the Gen X part. This is the generational wealth. And this is why it's now adversarial with the millennials. Because the millennials will talk it, but they know they follow Gen X. They know Gen X holds they hold something on them. I don't know what, but it's a special hold that the millennials got from Gen X. They can't function without Gen X. So that's why Umar's still a hero in their eyes. Umar Johnson obtains Ghanaian citizenship. And look at this. Black Queens forever. Snow Bunnies never. Amazing. Now, let's see who you are. Let's see. The Graph Poppy. Another millennial. That's millennial stuff. A bunch of GIFs. And he's probably a foreign one too. He did soccer and shit. Fucking America plays soccer like that, and play soccer. Play soccer. We don't call it football. We call it soccer over here. Definitely a alligator. I mean crocodile. Definitely crocodile. And Snow Bunnies never. But all I see in these pictures are deformed people like dwarfs. I see cartoon-looking characters, and then that's about it. I mean, I don't see anything else of importance. You do have some white people on there. So you say Snow Bunnies never. I don't know. But that's Umar. Umar's the big voice for the Gen Xers. Malachi Z. York's new I pick order with all Gen X. Yeah, Gen X is, Gen X, that's why I don't, I'm not old enough to know Gen X like that. Even when I'm at best with around Clue. I think Clue, you 4 years older than me. I think he was like late 70s. So I relate more to you, Clue, than maybe an Obsidian, born in the 60s. Kevin Samuels, born in the 70s. Mid 70s, I could probably relate to a little bit. But anything before that, I really don't know Gen X. But from what I've seen, they do have this heavy activism with them that they pass down to their children. Kind of adversarial. If you ask me, where they, look at this. Taking a picture with your fellow man and you're fist bumping each other, you're mean mugging for the camera. But yeah, you got this. Look at the size of her arms, bro. Have you seen Abdullah the Butcher before? Have you seen Abdullah the Butcher? She got the Abdullah the Butcher arms. Hold on, let me see something. Abdullah She got them. If she was to drop an elbow on you, it's over. She drop an elbow on you, it's done. She don't. She ain't built like that. Look at the size of Abdullah the Butcher. She got the same size. You know what I'm saying? She probably wearing the same leggings or tights that he wearing, covering up the belly. You can't see the belly, but all you see is the chest fat and them big old arms. She is the same size as Abdullah the Butcher. And they mean mugging for the camera. I see why you got a mean mug for the camera. Hey, Umar. There you go. Now this dude was waiting on his turn. Umar did not want to respond to him. Oh, my bad. Hold on. Let me get that out of here. I'm gonna share this instead. I'm sorry. There we go. I'm gonna restart it again. Let me do this one. All right. I did Abdullah the Butcher earlier, but this is look at the size of her arms, bro. Hey, I remember watching Andre the Giant, and he had a finishing move. Hold on, let me get this real quick. I'm gonna get this back. I think it stopped my screen real quick. Let me go back. There we go. Sorry about that, Clue. You see the arms right here, man, bro. If she clotheslines you or elbow drops you, consider life to be over with. That's why they mean mug, cause yo, you gotta to deal with that, bro. You gotta be like Ron Simmons. That's why I noticed. If you ever notice, a lot of brothers around that age group, they all muscular and big. Not not everybody, but certain type. They bigger like linebacker size. You gotta be to deal with this one right here, and she's still bigger than you. She still could drop an elbow drop on you, and it's over. Abdullah the Butcher, Abdullah the Daggle. Let me go.
We got Dr. Umar Johnson in the building right here. Hey, Dr. Umar. No problem. No problem. Hey, Dr. Umar. Hey, Dr. Umar. Hey, Dr. Umar, brother. Hey, brother. Hey, Dr. Umar, brother. Can I ask you a question? Hey, where's school going? Where's school going?
Wilmington, the school gonna open when we finish doing the renovations and got our certificate of occupancy. Who knows the date? God knows.
All right, perfect.
He said, "Who knows? God knows." All right, this guy wrote. I guess that was him there. I don't know if that was him there. Dr. Umar Johnson came today in Los Angeles, so I asked him, "Where's the school at?" We are out here in the community. Where the fake online Pan-African that talk ish about FBA at. About FBA at. They're nowhere to be found. Let me know if he's really building that school or not. Now, this is that FBA Pan-African. Bro, I always think the New Testament of community is always a Royal Rumble. Every man for himself. There's temporary alliances, but it only lasts for so long. And it's not like it's a continuous Royal Rumble. It's a continuous Royal Rumble. You got the FBAs, you got the Pan-Africans, you got the pro-blacks, you got the Nawubians, you got the Malachi York crew. I mean, man, 1997 WWF has nothing on the community today. Oh yeah, man. Andre didn't mess never. You rarely seen him with a big chick ever. His daughter big as hell, but like you rarely seen that, and that's because of him. She's big because of him. I can tell. So now this has been the scam artist. So I guess there's a little war between him and Tariq. This dude says, "And my dumb ass donated to this Negro. Oh well, I've donated to Tariq and Jason Black. That makes up for it." Amazing. Amazing, man. Woo. Umar Johnson, the Gen Xer. Now, all right, let me show you another Gen Xer that is famous. Lord Jamar. Lord Jamar, man. Lord Jamar. Umar and Lord Jamar. They rhyme, right? Umar and Lord Jamar. Let's see this one.
On math, Hoffa's my expert opinion. And, you know, basically he wasn't happy with part of the foundational Black Americans. He attacked foundational Black Americans. He attacked me, called me loony, said I was the wackest one in the brand Nubian. When he said the foundational Black authority, or he said whoever those broke niggas are, right? So that got me to thinking, right? A lot of people who are not necessarily intellectually astute or intellectually muscular will often resort to, name calling their money and, oh, you're broke. And, they try to equate it almost into intelligence, but really it's not. Fat Joe has an album out right now. And just like how the Democratic Party kind of expected foundational Black Americans to just support it just because, I think Fat Joe thinks that although he has a gripe with foundational Black Americans, I think he believes that we're going to go out there and support his new venture like we've done in the past. Well, people, I feel that all foundational Black Americans should boycott Fat Joe's new album. I believe, and at the same token,
Here we go. All right. Gen Z, Alpha. You want to recognize NIBA activity in Gen X or millennials? There's two things. Apparel, right? Number one. Gen Xers and millennials who are on this type of what they call in the community timing. They on that timing. They display behavior through their clothes, right? So their clothes is a clear indicator. So how you know Gen Z and Alphas through all of this? The millennials and the Gen Xers both wear fitted caps past the age of 30. They got the fitted caps on. They got the little chain on there, a T-shirt with a graphic on there, or some words that look plain or horribly looking, tacky. That's how you know you're talking to a pro-Black Gen Xer or a nibba from the New Testament, right there. Now, on the other side, Gen Xers and millennials who don't display the New Testament behavior, how you can tell those other younger generations how they are. I've seen that they either wear ski masks, have dreadlocks, or their pants are sagging really bad. But the pants are sagging is all generations. It's all of them. Now, Lord Jamar was talking about FBA this, FBA that. Jamar is from Guyana. His people's from Guyana. He has what they call, I don't know what the hell this means, Afro-Guyanese on heritage on his father's side. And he's the eldest of 3 brothers. So that's like, yeah, I feel your preference. I'm telling you, that's how you could tell. You could tell. So it's another Caribbean who's from Guyana. I think Guyana, even though it's in South America, I think they still consider themselves Caribbean. I think Guyana is in South America. Let me look that up. Because I used to know some Guyanese people. Some of them look Indian, like Indian. Yeah, they're in South America, on the northern coast. Some are Indian looking, and then some are like, look like your average nibba. So 2 Caribbeans are talking about hip hop. Have you noticed that? This is why in the New Testament, you can't go by skin color. You go by culture. Because that's when it changes. The Old Testament, boomers and before, you can go by skin color because they weren't, all of these they weren't all of this back then. You didn't see a whole bunch of fitted caps and cornrows in their damn 40s. Yeah, Clue's right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, in their damn 40s. You're right, Clue. You know, and that's how you younger people can tell. You can tell somebody if you ever hear somebody talking some pro-black nonsense and they got a fitted cap on. Just be prepared, man. Just be prepared. Hopefully, you're not going through that. Let's see this one.
I'd like to see how well it does. Because what all these people don't understand is all these people who have been ingratiated by hip hop is that if you took it back to your so-called roots or to your motherland or whatever the case may be and asked them.
That's how you know they Gen X too. Motherland. So I guess Puerto Rico, wherever Fat Joe's from, is his motherland. It's not just Africa. Africa is not just a motherland. Puerto Rico is a motherland. The Dominican Republic is a motherland. Jamaica is a motherland. Trinidad and Tobago is a motherland. Guyana is a motherland. Anyone who shares the culture is the motherland. Even in America, America is the mecca of the motherlands. Damn, what can I explain? Like, all right, to my young people, Naruto. America is the leaf village of the community. And then you got this cloud village, you got the stone village, you got the mist village, the water village. You got all these different type of villages, right? But America is the leaf village. It's the most powerful, the strongest one. And, they welcomed everybody in here. Now they're trying to keep now they're trying to regulate the numbers. Queen. Yeah, that's definitely Gen X right there. Gen X Queen. Motherland, shout out to A Tourism. You're gonna get all of that there. And 20 years ago, before the FBA was starting to come in, these two probably got along. Lord Jamar and Fat Joe probably got along. There's probably pictures of Lord Jamar and Fat Joe together 20 years ago. So with Fat Joe, before he started calling out FBA, there was probably, Fat Joe was like, cool. Now he does it. It's a problem. It's a problem now. And this is Gen X and millennials to a T. This is right here. The whole we're gonna take back our culture, rap music. You tethers are not gonna get our music anymore. We're tired of you making money off our music, even though your music is sampled by other people. Never gave them props. Matter of fact, they had to sue people to get props. They had to sue people. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's Northeast right there. I don't know. Is that down South Clue? Do they call each other God in the South, like in Atlanta and Texas? I don't know. I know that's Northeast, New York, Jersey, Philly, maybe Baltimore. I think I wasn't here when I was younger. I went to Jersey a lot. So, I definitely heard that before. God, yeah. That's Gen X. Matter of fact, what's crazy? That's a Gen X thing. Millennials don't call each other God. They call each other Kang. Get that right. They call each other Kang.
Them to support you, you would not be where you are today. So he says, I was the wackest one in Brand Nubian. Right? You know what that's like saying? That's like saying Scottie Pippen was the wackest one in the Dream Team. That Brand Nubian was a fucking dream team, my guy. Okay? So to say that I was the wackest one in Brand Nubian, I'm sorry, you're not hurting my feelings with that. You're just not. And here's another thing, sir.
Shout out to Clue again, man. The Clue, man. I'm telling you, that's why I call you Cluminati. I'm about to call you Clustradamus. The North is God, South is dog. And their words, one is God, dog. They're inverted. So one is backwards and one is the other way. And that's what it is. So the South is that. California's cuz and all that other stuff. I don't know the Midwest. I don't know y'all guys. I just know you guys recently. But the North is definitely on that. The pro-black the pro-blackism of Gen X in the North is something that's has to be studied. It definitely has to be, because this guy's from Guyana. He's from South. His people are from South America. They're from a whole different continent. Fat Joe. Let me see Fat Joe. Fat Joe is, I think, Puerto Rican. I think he's Puerto Rican. Let me see. I know Fat Joe. I know where he's lived at. I've been over there before. I think they call it Jackson Projects. I've been over there before. All right, Fat Joe was raised by parents of Puerto Rican and Cuban descent. So we know Puerto Rico is in North America. Cuba, I want to say, is also a part of North America. So he is, by default, Fat Joe is more American than you, Mr. Jamar. Yet you talking it for FBA. This is why the whole FBA stuff is so confusing. You don't know who's FBA and not, because according to your neighbors that I played earlier, the DMTS guy, Generational Wealth, you don't know who your daddies are. They were deadbeats. So what if your daddy was a Caribbean? What if your dad was a Nigerian? What if your dad was from Ghana? What if your dad was from South Africa and your mama's a dagger from America? What happens then? Are you still FBA? Or you like half FBA? Like you a Blade, you're like Blade. You move through the day and you could easily, and then at night you could be a vampire. Like, how does that go? How? This is why it's all confusing. To me, you're a crocodile. You're from Guyana, you're a crocodile. I'm a crocodile too. I'm a crocodile. I'm not an American alligator. I'm a crocodile. I'm probably one of them West Nile crocodiles.
I write all my rhymes. I always have. And for a person that doesn't write their own shit to try to judge someone that does, disqualification, foul ball. You're disqualified from even commenting on something like that, sir. You have to write your own rhymes. Okay, I don't know who's writing them now, because TA is not writing them anymore. I don't think Armageddon and dudes like that, but somebody's writing them. But it's not you. Influenced by foundational Black American youth, using foundational Black American music as its base. We wasn't using any Puerto Rican slang. And not just Puerto Rican, anything. It's not about hating anything that doesn't look like you. These are non-arguments that people try to create to try to say that
Gen X, man. Woo! Gen X is gonna die on that. We're gonna claim Rap Hill. But then, I mean, like, okay. Say you get Fat Joe to stop rapping, and he doesn't want to rap no more. He want to do reggaeton or something like that, or salsa music. You still got the Liar Cohens of the world. You got Jimmy Iovine. They're foundationally small-hatted people. Yeah, they're the foundation of the small hats. And you've been working with them for a long time, Mr. Guyana. DJ Vlad. Let me see. Who am I gonna look up right now? Who? Let me do this. Nigga grew up in plantain, not bananas like us. I'm telling you, these crocodiles is wild, man. These crocodiles is wild. He might be a Cayman. The Caymans are in South America. So the Caymans are in South America. He might be like a Yakare Cayman. They got something called the Yakare. And the Caymans, they're in South America. So he might be one that, the white man had to tame. Because if you never noticed these crocodile videos of alligators, the only one that could tame those type of animals, those type of lizards, are the white men. This is why I've always said that nibbers are the lizard people, not the small hats. I'm sorry. You can't convince me. Small hats don't like warm temperatures, unless it's Florida. But everywhere you go with nibbers, it's warm weather. Africa, warm, salt water. The Caribbean, warm, salt water. America, warm, fresh water, salt water. If you're in Florida or Louisiana, what's the word, marshes and all that stuff. And nibbers say they come from the South, and alligators come from the South. So yeah, he might be a Cayman. He might be a Cayman. He might be a Cayman. Let me see. Let's see. And he's passing that generational wealth of FBA, FBA to his kids, his grandkids. He might be a grandfather now. Who knows? So now, this is a big thing for Gen X right here. This is Freak Nick. This is what millennials have wished they could have done when they were the same age. You ask any millennial in the community of the New Testament, they would tell you, man, I really wish we could have had our own Freaknik. And this is 1997. Let's see right here. They got the camera. Let's see. Almost 30 years ago. You ever notice that nibbers act like ducks when it comes to mating? That's why I'm not doing the whole monkey thing. I think they're more like ducks. Like, you ever seen a duck trying to get mate? You ever seen a duck trying to mate? It is crazy how they do it. Yeah, it was wild. The 90s was crazy. That was the social media back then. You had a tape. You take it to your friend's house. He watches it. They might put it on public access TV. Oh yeah, that's a fact. That's another thing with millennials. Eating poo-poo. They like the poo-poo. Millennials will be out here eating booty in the middle of the street. Yeah, they would. The 90s was a crazy time. It was. But this is what the American alligators was doing. There probably was some crocodiles mixing there. There probably was some crocodiles mixing there. The Caribbean, the African, they might have been there. All right, let me. Man, that dude in the white bandana was pissed he couldn't get in there. He was pissed. Look at him. All right, let's see what Truism saying. Let's shout out to Truism one more time. I'm not gonna lie, I saw these videos of Daggle sucking Chico sticks and eating carpet at a party in real time on some Girls Gone Wild before GGW. Yes. And we come from that time, Truism. We remember GGW in the 2000s, right? Like, I think that was like 2000 to maybe 2002, 3. I remember that time. And that was the time. Freak Nick will always claim, like, Living Single. Oh, Living Single was first before Friends. Even though his Friends is more successful. Who cares? But Girls Gone Wild is more, they like them more because, Girls Gone Wild, they did have some crazy stuff going on. I'm not going to lie. But they ain't had this dude right here. Look at him. He pissed off. This Gen X. Gen X back then would wear turtlenecks, with a shirt that you could zip up to the collar, with a white bandana. And so it oh man, what I used to call these things, the lumberjack type of things. I forget what they call them. A flannel. You got the flannel on. And I remember they was gonna drop Freaknik documentaries, and then all the Gen X was like, "Oh, look now, man, yo, you mothers and grandmothers, you about to get exposed." And I was like, "What about this dude right here with the white bandana? He could have been he looked like my cousin. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you was 20 back then? Dang, I was 1997 was about 13 going on 14. Yeah, I remember flannels was the ish. Now they here we go with the Living Single. Yeah, it's a knockoff of the. Yeah, I mean Murphy. Who remembers Murphy Brown? Murphy Brown was doing the whole independent woman way before I saw Daggles doing it. I remember Murphy Brown. I remember Cheers. And damn, what's the big chick that kept losing weight from Cheers? I forget her name. Kathleen something. Oh man, it'll come to me. But the independent stuff angle, Gen X was, and Gen X community versus Gen X white were like back and forth in the arms race. One was trying to claim the single independent back then. Now the millennial daggles of the New Testament, it's all theirs now. Kirstie Alley, yes, Kirstie Alley, yes. I remember her, Elaine. They were all doing that independent woman stuff. Dane dudes back then. Oh yeah, Mary Tyler Moore. I forgot about her. Like, what I'm saying? That's nothing new. But this dude right here, he is so hurt. He probably had to fight so many dudes to get back there. Look at him. He wants to get over there. Look at him. He want to get over there. He's like, damn. I want to get over there. I came all the way from wherever I came from, and I'm going to get over there. I want to see what's going on. Yes, Gen Zers, you're seeing a pen and a pad. Yes. Back then, you had to write down phone numbers. And then you would ask the girl for a phone number. She'll write it down. Or, in this situation, she'll write it down and give it to you. You didn't share, Instagram sharing, or I don't know what they do. QR codes now. I don't know what they're doing. Back then, you had to write a phone number and give it to that person. So automatically, Gen Xers knew how to read more than the millennials and probably Gen Zers. Now, I don't know how true that is. I'm just saying it. But they had to write down their numbers. And like a pack of ducks, they're over here, trying to mate. They trying to mate out here like ducks or like alligators. It's real. Let's see this one.
In a parking lot near South DeKalb Mall. Pursue through a public parking lot. We do not know their identity, so we cannot tell you their feelings at this moment, how trapped they may or may not have felt. But for all they endured, it appears their flight from the crowd may not have been as rough as what another woman nearby encountered.
I ain't gonna front the graphics. If you've ever played Wells Waldo for the Nintendo Entertainment System, that's what it looks like right now. I can't even find Waldo. But I'm gonna try here. Let's just look.
Try to follow the struggling figure through the crowd. Try to imagine her feelings. Again, all we know about the incident is what we can see. But at least one official apparently didn't like what he saw.
It's clear that she's fighting back. It's clear that she's being assaulted.
We showed our tape of what we witnessed around South DeKalb Mall.
There was a sexual offense by that young man with the white sleeveless T-shirt. He needs to be in jail.
To DeKalb County Public Safety Director Thomas Brown.
Amazing. There were an awful lot of women out there that were innocent victims to a group of men acting like a pack of wolves. I'm very disappointed, not only as a man, but as a black man, in terms of watching my young brothers act this.
Now, that's the mistake the boomers made right there. The Old Testament nibbers made this mistake of now I'm disappointed as a black man. Now, okay, the generational thing wasn't mentioned in the 90s. It wasn't really mentioned there. But if it was, I would have said them young Gen Xers over there at the time. Include says Atlanta never recovered from this. Jeesh. This was after the Olympics. If I remember, 96, they were in Atlanta. So they received a whole bunch of money and grants and everything else from the Olympics, the revenue. And then the next year after, not even a year after, we're about a few months from that. And this happens. Amazing. Woo. But the boomer, you made this mistake. The Old Testament boomers, I kind of like the nippers from the old, like you ever read the Old Testament. It's like towards the end, like they was trying to warn, but they didn't. Uh, Eventually they conform to the fuckery. The Old Testament nippers eventually conform to the fuckery because Gen X. This is what the powerful Gen X are so powerful that they commanded the culture, and now the culture is basically Gen X culture. Let's keep it real. Gen X culture is the most powerful. Like the Gen X's. This is why I always kill when they say they're the lost generation. Maybe outside of the community, they could be, but in the community, they are the most powerful unit of the culture. From the baggy pants, the pants below the waist, to how the gang activity and drive-bys, you name them. Freaknik. Gen X is the most powerful of all the generations in the community Bible. They are. Every other one is trying to copy him. Shout out to SKC and the Bobo Doll. Everyone.
This way and treat young sisters this way.
Brown helped us identify 2 bicycle patrol officers in yellow shirts on the scene, and it looked to us like at least 2 other officers were in the area.
I would have loved to have had 25 officers in that parking lot.
But DeKalb was still coping with police manpower needs in the part of the county ravaged earlier in the month by tornado and storm damage. Even still, Brown acknowledges in the past most manpower has gone to keeping traffic moving. But he says Freaknik has changed, and so will police tactics.
We're at a point now that we're going to have to be much more confrontational than what we've been in the past. It's a public safety issue now. It's not a young kids blowing off steam just before final exams. These kids here, 98% of them, I doubt very seriously that they're in college or any kind of trade school.
Shift scenes to Midtown Atlanta.
Now I'm looking up here Freaknik real quick. It started in 1983. That's the year I was born. 1983 as a small picnic in a public park near the Atlanta University Center, sponsored by the DC Metro Club for students who could not afford to return home. So Atlanta doesn't even have nothing to do with this other than the location. This is some DC, Maryland, Virginia, Northeast type of mess. So the DC Metro Club was the one that started it all. In 1983, that includes some boomers. The younger boomers, born in the 60s maybe. And of course, Gen Xers. Of course. I'm surprised Obsidian wasn't there. I'm surprised he wasn't there. All right, so let's see. The event, it will continue as an annual event held during the 3rd weekend of April. Now, okay. The 3rd weekend of April. That includes, let's see. Yeah, the 3rd week is April 18th. That could be a 3rd week. That could definitely be a 3rd week. Okay. The event drastically increased in size and popularity in the 90s, incorporating dance contests, concerts, parties, a basketball tournament, rap sessions, a film festival, and job fair. That is crazy. The job fair is the last part of it. How many you think? How many of the New Testament nippers you think? How many of the New Testament nippers you think went to the job fair? When you can get dance contests, that's where the shorties is at. The concert, that's where the biddies is at. The parties, that's where the joints is at. Basketball tournament, oh, I could bust some ass to get some joints. Rap sessions, battling. Man, this is like a testament, new Negro Testament heaven right here. No wonder they want it back. No wonder they want it back. They even got something called Freaknik the Musical. Wow. Freaknik the Musical. I'm about to click that next. And let me show you this real quick, though. I'm going to show you this real quick. Let me show you. All right. So, originally, Freaknik, the name of the event is a portmanteau of picnic and freak, in accordance with the DC Metro Club's 1982 to 83 theme, The Return of the Freak. So before Mark Morrison made the return of the Mac. They had the return of the freak. Atlanta Magazine called it Atlanta's most infamous street party. The event grew to over 250,000 people. Problems worsened. By 99, Atlanta area police and elected officials worked together to end Freaknik. So this is 2 years. They ended it in 2 years after. Our revamped version of the Freaknik returned for one day on June 22nd, 2019 as Freaknik Atlanta 19. The festival with a concert at Solaris Amphitheater at Lakewood. Amazing. Okay. So Freaknik was conceived in March 82 in Spelman College. So it was a female that made the idea. Yeah, I think Stanley was there, man. Stanley probably was at the job fair. Stanley was at the job fair. What if Stanley was? What if Stanley was in this crowd, man, trying to get it, man? What if Stanley was like? What if Stanley was this dude right here, man? But Stanley was in the Navy around that time, so I don't know if he'll be there. He might have showed up probably on his break, but I don't know. But a female conceived this idea. Funny how they said conceived. So it was a female. Spelman College, the campus, DC Metro Club meeting headed by then President Shulia Goodson. It was sponsored by the club, which was composed of students from Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. So, the DMV is the reason why you guys at Freaknik. It was inspired by La Freak by Chic, a popular group in dance from 1978. I like that song. I like Chic. I like them. So, they had 2 Live Crew there. They had, you name it. The last one of Freaknik was in 99. So, Atlanta by that time had taken over. They had Luke Campbell, Juvenile, and Trina. I think they're all rappers. And they spearheaded the Freaknik themed concert. Oh, this was the return. So Luke was trying to bring it back. Okay. All right, this is interesting. Clue, let me know if you remember this, Clue. An episode of Sister on season 6 chronicled Tia and Tamara's trip from Michigan to Atlanta toward Freaknik with their college friends. I didn't know Sister was doing Freaknik. I didn't know that. A season 1 episode of True Life followed college students. I seen that one. That's the MTV one. I think I seen that one. All right. So William Street Studios produced a 1-hour special spoof titled Freaknik the Musical. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. A season 2 episode of Popular. I don't know what these new shows. I do not know. Okay. I heard of Blackish. I never saw it. On the 11th episode of season 6 of Blackish, Dre reveals to his son Jack that as a younger man, he was beaten in a dance-off by someone who brought his own whistle to the party, which raised the ire of his oldest son, Junior, who insisted Dre had told him what happens at Freaknik stays at Freaknik. I don't even know, but there could have been a lot of them. There could have been a lot of them. Beyonce references Freaknik. Hulu released a documentary. So this is why I said Gen X is probably the most powerful part of the community. They are. Now this is the Freaknik musical. T-Pain, Lil Wayne, who's this? Young Cash? I don't know who that is. I know Snoop Dogg. Sophia Fresh. Who is this? Okay, Rick Ross. And then, of course, you can't do nothing without a small hat. You can't, one thing about the community when it comes to entertainment, you ain't going to do nothing without a small hat. Yeah, I was too. I love Family Matters, man. I love Family Matters, Boy Meets World, man. I did. I was one of them dudes rooting for Corey to get Topanga, man. I was, man. Back in the day, I was rooting for that. Topanga and Kelly from Saved by the Bell, those are my favorites. And then the movie with Jesse's character, Elizabeth something, I forget her name. Showgirls came out in like the mid-90s. That's when she became my favorite. Straight up. But when it comes to the community and the New Testament, They're not going to do anything without a small hat there. All right. The small hat's always going to be there. Andy Samberg was there. Charlie Murphy. A soundtrack was released by Jive Records and Nappy Boy. That's an interesting name. Nappy Boy Entertainment. That's an interesting name. Okay, I guess. And of course, the film starts at a party that a group of young adults, Kid and Play, or Kid and Avion Crockett. Okay, so Play wasn't even in there. So Kid and Play were in. Wow, this combined like all the nibba entertainment of the Gen X years to millennial standards. Please tell me that's the new season, Clue. And I'm on there. I'm watching it. I'm watching. I fell off right when they were starting the tournament and they picked the size. So I'm about to get on. You ain't spoil it for me, Clue. I always like to watch the journey, so don't worry, you ain't spoil it for me. So they had a DJ Drama, a Young Cash, Rick Ross. So you got Virgil, Big Uzi, Skin. This is all Dola Man. And I've noticed that when it comes to these parodies, only the community can parody the community. Nobody else can. Nobody else can. You know, nobody else can. Is Oprah in there? Okay, they're parodies of. Oh, okay. It's a lot. This is a lot. Let me just check out the cast. There's a lot to read. T-Pain, The Ghost of Freaknik Past. So they included A Christmas Story, and they included different stories and then try to make it seem like it was original. So the Ghost of Freaknik Past. Rick Ross is Big Uzi Theodore. CeeLo Green is Light Skin Julians. DJ Pooh, Dola Man. Young Cash as Virgil Gibson. Little John as the Foreboding Old Dude. DJ Drama, Mr. Thanksgiving. Khalees as Tyra Banks. Charlie Murphy as Al Sharpton. Andy Samberg as Chad. I wonder what Chad feels in. Bill Hader as Tad. Evian Crockett as Russell Simmons. Christopher Malcolm. Oh, okay. He's playing Play. Okay. Kel Mitchell, the Fruit Bowl Boys frontman. Big Boy, the Preacher. Snoop Dogg, gang member number 1. Mac Main, gang number 2. Lil Wayne, Trap Jesus. Amazing. Trap Jesus. Hallelujah. All right. Sophia Fresh. I don't know who they are. George Clinton. Wait, George Clinton was in this one? Oh my gosh. Bootsy Collins. Okay, this Gene King Poo Poo Man. I don't know who that is. Corey Burton. I don't know who that is. I know that's Kid in Play. That's Kid. Yeah, that's Kid. Christopher Reed. Marlon Hill as Barack Obama. Can't do anything without Barack or Oprah or Al Sharpton. That's millennials. The millennial Jesus wall moment is Obama, Oprah, Al Sharpton, and Jesse Jackson. No order. Okay, so Oprah Winfrey was parodied in there. Okay, and you know, I've never heard of this, so I don't know. Okay, so I guess that's it. But this was Freaknik. This was the generational wealth of Gen X. They gave back to their youth via Freaknik. I remember Freakazoid. Remember Freakazoid? That was back in the day. All right, so let's look at this picture right here. All right. Freaknik returns to Atlanta this summer in family-friendly form. Could you imagine? This was about 6 years ago. 6 years ago. Family-friendly. Freaknik. You sure about that? Let's see here. Let's see this one.
Every generation has a moment where they come just to have some fun.
Atlanta is the mecca for black people in America.
It has multiple historically black colleges.
In the 80s,
we said, let's plan a picnic during spring break.
Let's call it Freaknik.
Freaknik was the greatest black gathering in America.
It was like an entry point into the black cultural experience.
To be able to be in the middle of the street, dancing, laughing, playing your music, it's a moment.
The interstate, the highway, was a street party.
There wasn't even a word called twerking. It was just called booty shaking.
There wasn't no social media, barely had internet.
Doing Freaknik, stars start coming in. You would see Tupac, Cookie Mob, Outkast, Usher Raymond.
And I was having a ball. Man, all the rappers were superstars back then. Look at my man. He had the what they call them, fronts. You know what I'm saying? That's how you knew back then you was from down south. You had fronts and gold mouths and all of that. So, this was the nipper version of Woodstock minus the hippie stuff. This was just, they didn't call it twerking back then. They called it booty shaking. So, Gen Z, you got grandparents as Gen X or Gen Alphas. I don't know if I have Gen Alphas listening to me. You got booty shaking back then. It wasn't called twerking. And she was the founder of Freaknik, Sharon Toomer. And she was, I'm going to leave that on. 21 Savage. He gives his point of view on it. Let's see who else did. Sharon Toomer. Is that little John from the Day Show? That's little John right there, man. You know what I'm saying? Now, I will say this. They were in a little bit better shape back then. Way better shape than the females today. But, man, this is what they passed on today. You know, when you back your grandfather now, you say, I'm going to share my kids this story. Man, generational wealth is real.
Freaknik was the greatest black gathering in America.
It was like an entry point into the black cultural experience.
So, it's an entry point into the black cultural experience, right? In elementary school. Yeah, that's a fact, they are. So, if it was a entry point into the black cultural experience, right? What if Rachel Dolezal went there? She got the insight on the black cultural experience, right? Because she was there, involving herself inside the black cultural experience, according to Mark Lamont Hill. Now, Mark Lamont Hill, I think he's a millennial. I think he is. You know what's always funny when it comes to the nibbish-ish, man? You know what's always funny? Oh, he's Gen Xer. He's a Gen Xer. Mark Lamont Hill is a Gen Xer. They always have these authors and activists and kind of like the type of people you would think a documentary would do, right? They kind of those type of people. And he tries to present it as if it's some kind of historical reference. Like Freaknik is historical. And I say it because I went to this school and it's a whole bunch of mixed brown kids. Oh wow. Shout out to that, man. Freaknik was what probably switched her from white to black. Probably, man. This DC too. I don't know. She went to Howard, so it's not that far-fetched, man. But this was Gen X back then. All you had to do was go to Freaknik and you was black. Now, you ain't FBA. You can't claim that. You can't be an alligator. You a crocodile. Stay over there with the crocodiles. You ain't an alligator like us.
To be able to be in the middle of the street, dancing, laughing, playing your music, it's a moment.
The interstate, the highway, was a street party.
There wasn't even a word called twerking. It was just called booty shaking.
There wasn't no social.
Yeah, back then there was nothing called twerking. It was booty shaking. And then Luke over there, man. Luke looked like somebody's grandpa now. There was no social media. Now, Luke, from what I've heard, he's a football coach. He probably does stuff in his own community, but when it comes to Freaknik, he's ready to tell you everything. He's ready to tell you the historical facts that you might not know, the everything. He's going to tell you. When it comes to Freaknik, he gets excited. Look at them eyes, man. He ain't see that much excitement since 1999, man. Look at that.
Social media, barely had internet.
Doing Freaknik, stars start coming in. You would see Tupac, Cookie Mob, Outkast, Usher Raymond.
And I was having a ball out here.
I don't know what heaven looks like, but this seems like a version of it.
Amazing. Even Jalen Rose. I don't know what heaven looks like, but this looks like a version of it. Man, let me go back on that. He's speaking that.
I was having a ball out here.
I don't know what heaven looks like, but this seems like a version of it.
You was lit, okay?
The legacy of Freaknik is black joy, black self-determination,
Black love, black excellence, black enterprise.
They said it. They said it, man, not me, man. The New Testament. The New Testament. Gen X is talking. This is why they're the most powerful. They let you know right then and there. Hey, go back and let them tell it to you. Generational wealth right here, man. You ain't gonna get that generational wealth. Only Freaknik will give you this generational wealth. Go back just a second. Just a second right there.
The legacy of Freaknik is black joy, black self-determination,
Black love, black excellence, black enterprise.
but the legacy of Freaknik is also the ugly side.
Wait a minute. You was just talking about heaven. If this is a version of heaven, I want to be there. That's what Jalen Rose say. Now it's ugly? Was it purgatory?
It started to get a lot more out of control. People were coming by the masses.
What the hell just happened? If you tried to bring back Freaknik, it wouldn't be what it was.
You heard that. The Gen X's tell us millennials that if we try to reprise, or Gen Zs, we try to reprise anything of Freaknik, it won't be the same. And I kind of agree. I think Gen Xers, they were calling that perfect storm of time. Like, I'm not going to, talk crazy, but I will say this about Gen X. That time, it was a lot more different. The 90s, there was no social media. I do think that's a big difference compared to today. So I will say this, it was some oh man. But at the same time, this was the 90s. It's a different time period. You didn't have a cell phone. You had to go to a payphone, or you had a beeper. If you had a cell phone, it was one of them big brick cell phones. It was not. Could you imagine social media for Gen X's in the 90s? This is why I think millennials aren't going to make it, because they're too invested in social media. And Gen Xers, while they're in social media, they're not truly invested. Not all of them. The most they're going to tell you is their memories. That's all you're going to hear now. They're old. They're not going to tell you about what they're doing now and we want to reprise Freaknik. They're going to tell you about the past. They're looking like grandma and grandpa out here. And this is what they were living back then. Look at that still shot, man.
Hell just happened. If you tried to bring back Freaknik,
Now, this is generational wealth that I think Gen X's might have passed to millennials, and they took it to the next level. He got the pro-black beads on. Those are the back to Africa beads right there. Maybe. You're right. I can give you that. You said give it away for free, my bad. Yeah, they make it dudes pay for it today. But this man right here, this gentleman right here, look at this guy right here. He like, what you doing? Oh, he's looking like, hey, back then, man, I don't even want to know the in and outs of the whole freak. I don't. I think sometimes you gotta let the memories die, Gen X. You gotta let them die. And I think for some Gen X's that didn't go to this one, this is the ones. I think if you didn't go to Freaknik, you were saved. Shout out to Clue. Shout out to A Truism. Trey the MBD. Oh, Donovan Sharp. I don't think Donovan Sharp was there. Oh man. I don't think they went there. Now, Sub-Zero, I can see Sub-Zero up in there. I can see a few of his cohorts that are on there. I ain't gonna say no names, but I can see them on there. Who's a big Gen X name right now? Obsidian and Lee Philly, so that leaves out. Damn, who else? Who's the D-Lo Brown, the rapping lawyer? I forgot his name. Oh man, forget his name. The one that was, I'll forget it. I'll get back to him. But this man is very excited to what they call booty shaking back then. Amazing.
It wouldn't be what it was.
The streets, the people, the debauchery. The streets, the people, the debauchery.
The streets, the people, the debauchery. Kathleen Bertrand. She might be from Louisiana. She got that name like Louisiana name, Bertrand. Like it's, she might be from Louisiana. Something like that. She might have some French people in her family. Kathleen Bertrand. ATL Conventions and Visitors Bureau. The debauchery. Now she's leading the ATL conventions. You was 17? Oh, man. You were saved, Clue. You were saved, man. You were saved, Clue. Thank God they stopped it, man. Whoa. Because there were some close calls where the community could have definitely done more damage than they're doing now. I mean, you have Freaknik. What was it? After millennials had I know the millennials, it was splintered off where the white ones and everybody else was, they ain't believe in race and all that. They would go to Cancun. The nibbers would go to Daytona Beach. That's the millennials of my age. They were going to Daytona Beach. They were going to, those places. They didn't go to Mexico back then like they are now. But back then, in my group, they had their debauchery too. They would go to Florida, and the others would go to Mexico.
Things that I saw, insane.
Look at the lineup. Gen X, Millennial, Gen X, Gen X, Gen X. Hold on. Right there. Only one millennial made it up there, and that's 21 Savage. I don't even know how he made it up there. They just threw him on there. He wasn't even alive during that time. I don't even think he was in this country around that time. So, I mean, he just watched it after the thought. He was secondhand watching it. Eric Sermon, CeeLo Green, Too Short. I know CeeLo Green, man.
We had no inclination to the depth we were creating.
Them kids ain't know nothing about Freaknik.
Oh, people telling you, kids don't know nothing about Freaknik. Back in my day, we was freaking off. Back in my day. Clay Evans, you tell him, Mr. Clay. You tell him, Mr. Clay. That New Testament, man, that's what I told you, man. The most powerfuls of the community Gen Xers, man. This is where it only applies. The lost generation does not apply to the community. Maybe outside of it, you might be a darker skinned fellow, melanated fellow. You're not in the community. You're not with the culture, anything. But if you're in the culture, you're in the community, Gen X is running things. You already know it. Amazing. So, that is the generational wealth that they're passing on. But, millennials have the student loan debt. The Gen Xers have Freaknik, rap, basketball, all of that. So, yeah, back in my day, insert nasty nigga-ish right there. Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. Let's see. I don't know. My time was, I never went to a HBCU, so I don't know. I just watched it on TV. Hits from the Street was a nibble that, he went to millennial colleges back then. I don't know if he's still there. I don't know. Look. I did Hits from the Street on Twitter. I can't find anything. So I'm seeing a whole bunch of weird stuff. I don't want to go down here. I have a feeling. Let's just do Daytona Beach. Let's just see what they do. Let's see what they got here. Daytona Beach. All right. So Daytona Beach. All right, let's see. What's this? I can't really. It's a lot of commotion. I don't know what's going on, but this is during Corona time, 2020. This is Daytona Beach. This is where the nibbers went after Freaknik ended. They went to Daytona Beach. They would go over there. They would go make their way. Now let's look at Cancun. I'm just gonna put Cancun MTV. You'll see the difference. You see the difference. All right, let me make sure. What's this? Let me make sure. Okay.
Dr. Dre, don't just stand there, operate. I'm ready to leave. It's too scary to die. drank and bit the Kool-Aid. Damn it, it's right. All my life, I was serving it prime.
That's very interesting that Eminem will pull his pants down. Now, I gotta say this about Eminem. He's part of culture too. He's part of that Gen X culture. Yeah. See, when you was white and a Gen Xer back then, you had to work extra hard to be in the community. You had to work extra hard. You had to be extreme. You had to disown your whiteness sometimes, man. Let me tell you something, man. You ever seen House Party 3, I think was what name was in college? They had Jamal, the white guy. He had to change his whole character, man. That was Gen X. You know, and these are millennials that's partying. You know? Shout out, is that proof?
I ain't had a woman in years. My palms are just heavy to clothes rib like I saw. I was. When I was little, I used to get so hungry I would throw fits. I used to have blessed and be mom who ain't got no. I lay.
Now I do find this funny with the whites today. You guys got to talk about this because now you don't do the whole generational wealth thing, which I'm gonna give white people. They don't talk about generational wealth. They're not the type. But the ones who I see in the nibba community who talk and why white men are not as powerful as they used to be, and you know their white guilt and all of this. That's because the Gen Xers chose rap. So go talk to the Gen X white people that chose rap, the millennials who chose rap, because I think there's a lot of Gen Zs who make that argument. Go talk to them because this is the reason why. At first, it used to be slim and thin and beautiful, walking down modeling clothes. But you seen they slipped in that dude walking around with his bathing suit on. They slipped that in there. There was a reason why they did that.
Wake and strap myself in the bed with a bulletproof vest on and tap myself in the head so I'm seeing the mess. And by the way, when you see my dad, ask him if he bought a porno mag and see my eye.
Yeah. So SKC brought up one time before that why they don't make white music the way they do anymore. Your answer is right there. Eminem, Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber. Those three guys took over white vocalists. Yes, they did. Justin Timberlake is a nipper that had the black card, according to Gen X and millennials. Eminem had the card, the black card, according to Gen X and millennials. Justin Bieber had the black card, according to millennials. So that's why you're seeing white Gen Zers. That's why you see what you see. See, you guys got to look back and see what they were doing back then. Now, were they as wild as Freaknik? No. But there was some stuff that you kind of see and you're like, it's leading you there. You know? But to their props, a lot of them have changed. This is Kid Rock right here. Let's see what Kid Rock's talking about.
All right, enough talk, right? It's time for the actions to begin. Now, when the music starts, the battle begins, and it won't stop till we get a winner. So here we go. Fear Factory, make like Jenna Jameson's in front of you and hit it!
Welcome to the world of Fear Factory! Prepare for shock!
Here we go.
This music died out with Gen X. This type of music died out with Gen X. There's no millennials that make this type of music. And if they do, show me. There's no millennials that make this type of music. Instead, they want to be rappers. This was the last time you would see this. And if you notice, this is Cancun. There's a difference between Cancun and Freaknik. They were both in 99. And you heard when they did the documentary, they said the stars that were there, Goody Mob, Outkast, Tupac, oh man, Luke, you name it. They were all there. That was their celebrities. Cancun, Kid Rock, and the WCW crew. That's just here. Jimmy Hart, too. Shout out to Jimmy Hart.
Chavo Guerrero and Kidman mixing it up. There goes Hugh. Saturn. We got a big smudge. It's the Beer Stick Brawl. My God, it's all breaking down here in Tulsa.
He's going crazy. Everybody's off the hook.
Come on, the mouth to the south. Get it going, Jimmy. We've got it, baby. Look at Hugh Mars, man. I told you. That's my prediction.
Yeah, white men, they put them in skirts too. They did. It wasn't just the nippers. That's another thing you hear from Gen X and millennials. They always put us in skirts and dresses. They always do that. They trying to feminize us. What do you see that man doing in wrestling?
Here we go. Should be some sign of Karana, or however you pronounce it. Uh-oh. Here comes something big.
Here goes Hugh, 300 pounds.
Mind you, wrestling is choreographed. So, I guess the moves have an impact. They hate the word fake, but it's choreographed. Meaning that they go over what they're gonna do. They go over what they're gonna do.
All right, enough talk.
They're gonna go over what they do, and they're gonna lay it out. So if you notice, they were playing some music that, if you ever been to one of these mosh pit rave type events, it gets pretty interesting. If you ever been to them, they throwing fists, they're pushing each other, but it's not gonna lead to no gunshots. It's not. And surprisingly, I don't know if Freaknik ever people got shot. I don't know. I'm not gonna say that. But over here, you could tell the only fighting that's going down is at the ring. That's it. People are drunk off of drugs, all types of stuff over here. But the generational wealth that I guess Gen X whites are passing down is wrestling and rock music, which, they're not a big generational wealth guys. You're not gonna find a white guy talking about generational wealth. They're not. So it's different. But let's just say if they were to talk like that, they can at least say, hey, we pass down rock music and wrestling.
You're up to the top. Here we go. Should be some sign of Karana, or however you pronounce it.
That's what they was doing. All they was doing was that. That's all they was doing. Oh, that was Dr. Dre with Eminem? Okay, that was Dr. Dre. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought that was proof for somebody else. But this is what they did at Cancun. This is what they was doing, man. This is definitely what they was doing, man. Cisco and Pink. I don't know if Jay-Z and Beyonce met at spring break. I don't know. Okay, March 16, 2000, Jay-Z and Beyonce met for the first time at MTV Spring Break Festival in Cancun, where both are performing. So they didn't meet at Freaknik. They met at Cancun. Amazing. They met at Cancun. And you don't hear like the Cancun documentary coming out. Oh, remember our times in Cancun, and we were mosh pitting, and Eminem was performing with his pants down, and all these rock stars came out. Look, they even got that's the Backstreet Boys. The Backstreet Boys were the celebrities back then. Look at that. Backstreet Boys. Y'all remember the Backstreet Boys? Let me see. White women give white men a reason to work hard and be good husbands. Black women give black men a reason to date white women. Shout out to Double Paraphrase and Passion. Shout out to Deacon Dave in the building. Shout out to Deacon Dave, man. Look at that. Now, the Deacon Dave, you might have missed it, but I played a documentary clip of Freaknik. The celebrities that were there were Tupac, Outkast, and Goody Mob, and somebody else. I think Eric Sermon was there, and Luke. Those are artists you can't play in front of your children. But look, who's there? The Backstreet Boys. If you were alive during my time, the Backstreet Boys were like the biggest thing on earth. It was between them and NSYNC back and forth one day. Like, I think 97, 98 was the Backstreet Boys, and then 99 and going was NSYNC. Everybody Backstreet's back. All right. You know what I'm saying? Like, Gen X white men, that's the last of the music you're going to hear. That's the last. I think everything that you liked about white music or white people that made music died with Gen X. That was it. After that, I don't see millennials doing that type of music. I just don't. They're trying to be rappers. All right, so, and this was Cancun back in the day. Look at this. Bunch of women in scantily clad clothes. They ain't have to worry about nothing. They got a couple daggles over there. It's like, well, it's wild. They got some daggles over there. They chilling. The white man and his daggle over there chilling. The black man, he got a couple white bras right here. He chilling. They don't have to feel a threat. And this was 2001. I graduated high school in 2001. You ain't have to worry about nothing back then. You just had to go. And this was when all they described in that documentary was really Cancun. So let's go back. I'm going to play this real quick. And then I might be done soon. Let's just go back to this clip.
Every generation has a moment where they come just to have some fun.
Atlanta is the mecca for black people in America.
It has multiple historically black colleges.
In the 80s, we said, let's plan a picnic during spring break.
Let's call it Freaknik.
Now, they said, let's plan a picnic, and then we're going to name it Freaknik. Now, I don't know where you got Freaknik and picnic. I mean, Nick, I guess that's where you get it from. But why Freaknik? Why can't it just be called Black Picnic? But she's the founder, Sharon Toomer. She probably still smashing them young dudes to this day, man. She wants a JB Designs on her. JB like, nah, I don't want none of that. But he wants that type of young dude. And I just showed Cancun. There was none of this going on.
Freaknik was the greatest black gathering in America.
It was like an entry point into the black cultural experience.
To be able to...
That's how you know right there is the entry point to the black cultural experience. Now, Freaknik welcomed everybody. You just had to show up and not cause trouble. Everybody was there at Cancun. This is strictly the black cultural experience. Let it go.
Be in the middle of the street, dancing, laughing, playing your music. It's a moment.
The interstate, the highway, was a street party.
There wasn't even a word called twerking. It was just called booty shaking.
They wasn't no social media, barely had internet.
During Freaknik, stars start coming in. You would see Tupac, Cookie Mob, Outkast, Usher Raymond.
Now, Usher is probably the most cleanest artist out of all of them that went to Freaknik from what they listed. But who you want your kids listening into in the chat? Do you want them listening to the Backstreet Boys, or do you want them listening to Usher? I want to ask people in the chat. I got 4 people in here. Let me ask them, who would you rather listen to? Usher? If you had kids, family-friendly event, because you know there was kids brought in here. This is an outside event. There's no rules here. So kids probably were there. Would you have your kids around Freaknik and all these artists, include Usher? Or would you have them around Cancun? You might have Eminem pull his pants down, but you got the Backstreet Boys there. Let me know.
I don't know what heaven looks like, but this seems like a version of it.
You was lit, okay?
The legacy of Freaknik is black joy, black self-determination,
Black love, black excellence, black enterprise.
but the legacy of Freaknik is also the ugly side.
It started to get a lot more out of control. People were coming by the masses. What the hell just happened?
Now, she said people were coming by the masses, but Jalen Rose told you it was like a slice of heaven. Black heaven. You said neither? Yeah, now what you know about Backstreet Boys, I can understand that. But this is crazy, right? Let me go back real quick.
What the hell just happened? If you tried to bring back Freaknik, it wouldn't be what it was.
Now, she said it. Now this woman says you should keep Freaknik bottled away. We're gonna do the documentary and talk about it, but we're gonna leave. We don't want people to restart it. Gen X. I give them props on that. They don't want to relive it. But Cancun wasn't doing all this.
The streets, the people, the debauchery.
The thing that I saw, insane. We had no inclination to the death that we were creating.
Now, a bunch of women started this Freaknik thing, and then the one dude was in on it. So apparently, this one dude was in on it. He's sitting right there. Let me show you right back. He was giving him a hug. So that was the dude that was talking earlier.
Death that we were creating.
Them kids ain't know nothing about Freaknik.
Trust me, your mom and daddy got down.
Trust me, your mama and daddy got down. Ooh. Now, what if their mama was one of the women that was chased by a pack of men like ducks and wolves? What would you say about that? What if they pappy was one of the dudes that was like chasing her? Man. All right, let me go back to Cancun real quick, and then we done. I ain't gonna take too much of you guys' time. So let's go to Cancun MTV. Now, the millennials, they want this so bad. They want to live this lifestyle so bad. They want to. But I think Gen X is like, nah, you guys are not built for that. You guys are not doing that. We were the only ones that lived that time. Look at this. Throwback, back in the day, two brothers chilling, two Italian, probably the Jersey Shore dudes. Throwback Cancun 2004. Look at that. I forgot this chick's name. That's Lindsay Lohan back in the day. Look at Lindsay Lohan back in the day. 2004. Lindsay Lohan was a crush on me. I used to have the biggest crush on Lindsay Lohan. Let me tell you why. She got that red hair and them freckles. And the freckles go all over. Look, bro. Look, I get weak when it comes to freckles and red hair. All right. Brunettes is the only ones that might beat them out for me. All right. Clue says Freaknik became Pride Month. Let me get out of there. This ain't Rumble. That's cool. But you definitely right on that. Because that dude towards the end, he was leading into Pride Month. He definitely was. And you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody back then would just, they wouldn't be doing all this. Let me get out of here for a while, Let me go this way. Cancun MTV. Back then people were just having fun. There's nothing wrong with having fun. First of all, there's nothing wrong with having fun. As long as you handle yourself responsibly, don't drink and drive, hurt nobody, that's fine. But that's what I got from Cancun. I never heard no stories out of Cancun that girls were getting essayed and all of this. And there were pooks out there. I don't know. I don't think Dr. Dre was a pook. In fact, I don't think there was any pooks back then. I don't think Exhibit is a pook. Exhibit knew, Exhibit made the biggest move to work with Mexicans and call it Pimp My Ride. That was the smartest movie ever made. And look how clear the water is back then. Look how clear the water is versus Atlanta. Shout out to Atlanta. But one reason I do not like Atlanta, because you will never get this in Atlanta. You will never get this water, pristine, clear water. You got to go to a pool party in Atlanta. And I've seen those pool parties. I don't want to go. That's not me. I'd rather be in the beach in Mexico. Carmen Electra back in the day. Hey, for my Gen X's, y'all remember Carmen Electra? My older millennials, you guys remember Carmen Electra? Look at that Carmen Electra back in the day. Hold on, I'm not going too far. Carmen Electra. Look at that. Carmen Electra back in the day. Look at that. That's what Gen X's had back in the day, man. That's what they had back in the day. In shape. Man, Carmen Electra was the one, boy. That was back in the day. Carmen Electra. Her prime, boy. Let me see. Now is that Fallout Boy? I don't know. Is that Fallout Boy that did this song? I forget who, because I know Fallout Boy was big in the 2000s. I forget who did this song. I used to like it. Let me know in the chat. Is this Fallout Boy or whoever it may be? Let me know. As back then, women would walk down and dance to rock music. They wasn't twerking or booty shaking to rap music back then. This is why I said Gen X white men should lead the conversation for all the younger ones, because I think that's the last generation. I think millennials kind of folded and accepted the community and didn't roll with it the way they should have. And now they're trying to get it back. And it's too late. Once you folded, you can't get it back. You can't get it back. It's done for. Is this a recent one? Let me see what this is about.
Oh yeah, I'm in Cancun and it's crazy. I'm like the ocean cause I'm wavy.
That's a millennial.
J Valentine, I get fly like this in spring. Oh yeah, I'm in Cancun and it's crazy. I'm like the ocean cause I'm wavy. J Valentine, I get fly like this in spring break. Please don't bang a guy like this.
Spring break, bitch.
That's what we call a tool. Don't bang a guy like this. Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is millennials now. Yeah, Carmen Electra. Yeah, definitely, man. Janice Rodman. I forgot who else she was with back in the day. She was with quite a few people back in the day, but we didn't care about body counts. They probably was body counts back. Matter of fact, they were. They did. I'm bugging to say that, but they didn't care if she was with Dennis Rodman. You still was trying to get that. This chick, I don't know who she is. Apparently, her name is Justina Music. She's on a show called MTV Wild and Out. She's a rapper, actress, standout god. That's definitely millennial. Love affair, splashy, mo money lady, blah 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 blah. Yeah, that's her. And yeah, this is definitely millennials doing it now. They can't, and I think millennials gonna have to realize they're gonna have to start creating their own stuff. Maybe it's too late. Maybe it's too late. Maybe it's too late. Maybe you gotta let Gen Z take over. Look at this. Grand Oasis Cancun. Yeah, now they in Cancun. Spring Break 2019. Oasis Dance to You. City Girls. March 20th. This dude says, how can we get tickets to this event? Yeah. Ain't nobody really showing them love like that, though. But yeah, that's what Cancun was over with. Gen X, it was apparent, man. It was apparent. And that's why I said the generational wealth is different depending on what generation you're looking at. If it's millennials, student loan debt, and Gen X copy and paste. That's their generational wealth. Gen X's freaknik, pro-blackism, rap, sports, entertainers. That's their generational wealth. And the guy earlier I played, he was talking about listening to Hove. A lot of these guys who do the generational wealth, their favorite rapper is this guy. Like, he got a big old booger in his nose right there. You know what I'm saying? And back then, Beyonce says, I was 18 when we first met. 19 when we started dating. That sound familiar? That don't sound like Shannon Sharp? Beyonce was a 19-year-old, fresh off the block. Jay-Z was an older man. Don't care how old he was back then. We don't care. We just saying he was older than her. At least 30-something. And he picked that young 19 out there. So, I don't know even know. The whole Shannon Sharp thing is weird to me. Because Jay-Z took his girl at 19. Yeah, this generational wealth. See something here. Look at this. Not a single form of adversarial hate. Not no jumping. Not none of that. Just peaceful vibes. That's what happened here. And I think that the Gen Xers of the New Testament are gonna have to like, you know, is this when you talk about generational wealth? This ain't it. This is not you guys. You guys have Freaknik. You guys have Freaknik. You know. So I'm about to end this stream, man. I've been on for almost 3 hours talking, man. I appreciate everybody who's listening to me too, man. Shout out to Baltimore Calculator Instruments. Clue, shout out to Clue. That was comment of the day. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's see. This is spring break. Let's see this one. Cast it. Oh, this is crazy. I'm not gonna read that. Look at Carson Daly back then. Carson Daly with Shifty Shell Shock. I like that name, Shifty Shell Shock. The lead singer of Crazy Town, best known for the #1 Hot 100 hit Butterfly in 2001. Yeah, man, I miss the days when white dudes used to have hair like this, man. We need those white dudes back, man. And it gotta be natural. It can't be, you just one day decide you want to do this because you've seen it. Look cool. Like Carson Daly, now they became lefties. They did become lefties. But this is what it was back then. Pierce is all over. Now the Nibbers is doing it. And they'll tell you they were the originators. He had painted fingernails and tattoos. I'm not even going to go over here to the chesticles. I'm going to leave that alone. But he got piercing tattoos everywhere. Now the Nibbers is doing it. That's the generational wealth. Sometimes the generational wealth is a copy and paste. Sometimes it is. Look at this, man. Look at my brother over there enjoying, man. Look at this. Yeah. Look at my brother over there enjoying, man. Look at that. Spring break. That's millennials right there, though. That's definitely millennials. Anything with 19 and spring break has got to do with millennials. Yes, it does. It seemed like Gen X, as much as we could talk about the pro-blackism, I really think that stuff came out later. It wasn't in their prime. Like, you never heard of Omar Johnson in 99, 2000. You didn't hear about Tariq Nasheed. I know he was on MTV back in the day, but he wasn't the Tariq Nasheed we know of today. Different. Look at this back then. The Community's favorite, Ciara and Ludacris in 2005. I don't know if this is the last year they did it, but they stopped sometime after that. Everybody wanted to go to Cancun. They didn't want to do Daytona Beach or Freaknik. Freaknik was for the New Testament. So leave your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about generational wealth coming from Gen Xers and millennials, the New Testament nippers. Let me know what you guys think about that. If anybody else is on today, like Hood Conservative, go check them out. A Trues will be on tonight. I'm traveling tonight, so I just want to drop the stream before I travel. I appreciate you guys taking your time out to listen to what I got to say, man. It's very much appreciated. And if you're Gen X, man, and you ain't lived this, and your kids is good, thank God. Thank God your kids live good. You didn't have to go through all of this effort. You're millennials. And you was like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of the community. I want to get out the community. Meaning my woman can't be part of that community. That was good to hear. And I think most of you guys need to speak up more, because I think the true generational wealth, or whatever they call it, I don't believe it, but let's just say they have called it generational wealth. The true generational wealth is going to come from the SYSBN brothers. It's going to come from the dudes you consider coons. It's going to come from the dudes you consider rednecks. Not black rednecks, just rednecks like me. It's going to come from the conservative side that ain't fold to the community. It's going to come from there. Because if you leave it up to the community, let me just do this last one before I go. Gen X Black. Let's see what they got here. If you're in the community, all they're going to talk about is what used to be. In our day, we watched Living Single, Martin, Jamie Foxx, Different World, and Fresh Prince. And they all got married. Yeah, that's Gen X. But then millennials ain't got those type of shows. That's why Gen X is living in the time bubble. They not gonna let go of that. They're not. They're not. You know what I mean? You know. Let's see this one.
Gen X, these people just don't know what they've done. You've woken up Gen X. I mean, you just don't understand what you've done. Gen X, their first lesson in science was to take a magnifying glass and angle it just so the sun comes through it and torch live bugs. Burn them to death. These people literally spent their childhood beating the shit out of each other just to be best friends for life after. I mean, pain doesn't exist for these people. They would play tackle football in the middle of the street on the concrete and then yell car when a car was coming. I mean, while kids today are eating sour candy as a challenge, Gen X literally impressed girls by putting cigarettes out on their tongue. They would literally take a lighter and heat up the metal on the top of a lighter and then turn it upside down and burn their skin just because they wanted a smiley face tattoo. I mean, you're talking about a whole generation of people that rode around in cigarette smoke-filled cars with no seatbelts, let alone airbags. These people grew up being borderline tortured. When they got in trouble, their parents would send them outside to pick a switch, a long, skinny stick that was flexible enough to cut through the air and cut flesh. If they did not pick a suitable switch, they were made to go get another one, and it just got worse. And then, if they ever hurt themselves and fell off their bike and scraped their knee or whatever, they would wear these wounds like badges of honor. And even though we hurt ourselves, we would then go inside to see our parents, and they would pour peroxide on that shit. It would bubble and sizzle and turn all red. We wore that shit like badges of honor. Gen X was wild. We would have 4th of July. We would shoot Roman candles at each other, bottle rockets and shit. While y'all are standing 30 and 40 feet back from whoever's setting the fireworks off, we were in the middle of that shit, usually turning it upside down and shooting it at our friends. I mean, Gen X has cheated death our entire life.
You ain't lying, man. Gen X definitely cheated death, man. Them freakniks, man, they cheated death so many times, man. But let's see, man. The Caucasian Gen X's, man. Hopefully, you guys come back. But I mean, the only problem I have with the Gen X's of the Caucasian side is you guys embrace rap too much. You guys do. And now you don't. You don't now, but there was a time that you did. And that was because of Eminem. Eminem was the bridge that brought you guys over. It killed all your music. Killed all of what you brought to the table. I know Linkin Park came after. I know all those groups came after. But go ask a common white person what they think about Linkin Park. They'll say they're gay. Yes. Yes. They'll say, man, don't listen to Linkin Park but nippers. Nobody listen to that. We listen to Megadeth. We listen to all that stuff. You know, Alice in Chains. We were Rage Against the Machine. And I think you guys, if one thing I would give advice to is Gen X white men, you guys got to stand up and take charge, man. Get with other people who ain't on the color spectrum. And I don't think he is, but culturally, you kind of could see that he is on that spectrum. You know, because that's the Fred Durst look. That's the Fred Durst look. That is the, you know, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
What we wanted to do was sleep and rest. And you goofy bastards have made it absurd enough to live on this rock that we are coming out of retirement just to burn this bitch down to spite you, and then hopefully we can go back to sleep. If not, we'll stay awake and we'll just keep the fire going, because Gen X don't quit. Y'all gonna learn one of these days.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm kind of hyped. I'm kind of hyped. You know what, Gen X? Let me say this, man. Let me say this. I have hope for Gen X. I think Gen X, because they're the most powerful, you can't, the community, of course, you can't break that through that. But outside of the community, I think Gen X is the one, the key. I think they're the key. Because the boomers are irrelevant. They're old, they're washed up. Nobody cares about them. You know, they waiting for them to go. But the Gen Xers, they're going to be your grandpas. They're going to be your grandmas. Some might be your fathers and mothers right now. But guess what? I think Gen X might save the day, man. This might be the generational wealth that people need. And that's a good swift kick in the ass. Yeah, I said it. The generational wealth that you need is a good swift kick in the ass. And I think they should bring it to the millennials first. Because I would go down from there. Yeah. Gen X, I would definitely roast the millennials. Go down. I think the boomers, the whole Gen X boomer beef is stupid. Because you can't go back and fix the past. But you can change the future. And changing the future means cleaning up the millennial mess. The boomer mess is there. You can't do nothing about the boomer mess, Clue. You can't. It's there. You can't do nothing with it. But the millennial mess is growing, man. It's growing. It's growing right, in our face. Jasmine Crockett, Ilion Omar, AOC. They're in the office right now. They gonna need that Gen X kick in the ass from people that ain't in the community, aren't in the community. Let me fix that up.
They try to act like, oh, political violence, it's the Democrats and it's the liberals. And it's like, actually, I mean, I'm not going to say that like a left-leaning person cannot be violent, because that would be like crazy to say that somebody can't be. But baby, y'all got the white supremacists galore, okay? Like all of them. You got the Proud Boys. You got the neo-Nazis.
See how the millennials talk about white supremacy? Yet, you can't tell me a millennial that wasn't around white people. Show me the millennial that never been around white people. You got to go to the Sentinelese Islands in India to find them. All these nibbers is who's millennials, one way or another, have lived well thanks to quote-unquote white supremacy.
You have people that literally should be classified as domestic terrorists, because a lot of times that is what they are doing. They're engaging in domestic terrorism. And guess what? They all align with your side. Yeah. Including the KKK. So like,
you see, this is what's Jasmine Crockett's position in office? Let me see what it is. Let me see real quick. I'm gonna check it out. I know let's see. Jasmine Crockett, American attorney and part of the Texas 30th Congressional District, a U.S. representative. Yes, this is a U.S. House of Representative who is sitting there. I know who, she's probably talking to a white man, so she got to show her legs and do all that. You see that little belly right there? Carmen Electra didn't have that her day. See them arms, a little bigger than most. See, these chicks, the camera makes the arms look smaller than what they were till you look at it. And you see them arms is big as heck. She got some big old arms. And she seems like she's short. So she's short, probably like about 5'4", 5'6". With them big old arms. She's talking crazy, so she got a round face. She's kind of bigger than most chicks. She got a round face. And she got the fupa right here. That's a millennial trademark. You're not going to see a millennial woman without a fupa. Gen X, fupa didn't exist till later on. Today was in their 40s. All right, let's see what JC. I'm about to end it, but let's see. One of the biggest problems in my generation is that culture represents parents kicking out their kids at 18. They're forced to struggle and go through the same traumas their parents did rather than build. Yeah, that came from the Old Testament, where they kicked their kids out. And Gen X, unfortunately, had to suffer from this the most. Millennials did not suffer from this. So I don't know if Gen Z going through that right now where they get kicked out at 18, but I know millennials did not, because even the stats say millennials are the highest form of children who live with their parents as adults. By far. She is a ratchet strag. Yeah. That's a millennial trait too, Deacon Dave. Them joints are sagging. You mean a millennial by a certain age, it's already sagging. They don't have their perking is dropped after 22. It's done. She's regular size in 2025. I feel you. Yeah, I just showed one with Umar earlier. Her arms is big. But she's big. Them arms are big as heck. And there's no There's no like what I call this? There's no looseness with this shirt. It's begging to be free because it's so tight on her. Let me let it rock.
I mean, this is who aligns with that. So like inherently in like who you are, y'all are violent. Like y'all, and most of your violence has to do with people that's got a little bit of melanin. But nevertheless, like y'all are a violent group of like you attract violent actors. And like, I'm sorry, I know they tried to make Black Lives Matter out to be the most violent. What about Black Lives Matter? No. So that's the thing.
All right, so here we go. The show is called Betches, or I'm assuming they didn't want to spell out the word bitches, so they put Betches on there. So she's talking to I'm assuming a Republican woman. This is a millennial-ish right here. This is millennial-ish right here. Yeah, yeah, you already know. There's the OnlyFans chicks that's built like her. You're right. But look at this one right here. Like, she's a little presenting better, even though she got the shorts on. But her arms ain't as big as Crockett. Crockett got the back arm right here. That's, this is straight slender down. So she got to be Latina. She probably Latina. She built like a Latina. And then she's bringing all this anger, talking about white supremacy. She looks Mexican. Then they had the I don't know what this supposed to mean, a ball and a U on it. I don't know. This is millennials right here, though. And this is why I never take millennials seriously. I don't care where you come from. I don't care if you white, black, otherwise. You the only generation that I know when I listen, I don't take you seriously. I don't care what race you are. Gen X, I'll listen to. I might listen to Gen X. I might listen to a Gen Z because they're young. They're young. They're growing. But millennials who 40, 30, mid-30s, nah, I ain't listening to them. Heck nah. And this is the face of black millennials in politics right here. Right here. She even saying it. She doesn't have to explain why her family has been cashing their dead grandmother's Social Security checks since 2004. The way she presents herself. And, the Gen X daggles was their own thing. But in the 90s, they wouldn't be out there. Look at this. Look at this.
Baby girl. Baby girl. Baby girl.
Now that poor girl's gums is almost done. This one right here, that gum is almost done right here. The plaque is eating at her gums that is pushed back. Because this one is obviously not like that. But these two right here, it seems like she doesn't brush the front of her teeth. She doesn't brush the front of her teeth. Millennials. This is millennials right here. If you ever been with a millennial, I know these dudes ain't been with a millennial that, but if you have, you can see the lack of care they use. They use to take care of themselves. The lack of hygiene. Look at this gum right. Oh my gosh, this teeth is almost gone. And she got the nerve to glue some stuff on there. Amazing. With Gorilla Glue.
Baby girl, let me see you do your dance. Let me see you twirl. Shake a dance in the club with your homegirls. Take a pic for the gram, show the whole world.
Gorilla Glue. Clear Gorilla Glue. And tooth gems. And her teeth is almost gone. She gonna get veneers before she 5 years from now, she gonna get veneers. Maybe 2 years from there. This is the millennials. This is the generational wealth they're gonna get back to you. That right there. One last thing.
I did recently read this interesting article that I thought was so funny.
Yeah.
I don't know that I thought it was funny, but it said that Caucasian Americans are dying at a higher rate than they are actually being born.
Yeah, that is true, I think.
So with what's happening with the but it's not the same for where the majority will become the minority.
You got 300 years. Get your
The millennial dude, you got 300 years to catch up. And look, she made that face after she heard that. Look at her face. She ready to punch that dude. How dare you say we got 300 years? Did you not hear what I just said? She want to punch that dude in his jaw. She went from smiling to that. Let me play that again.
get your affairs in order.
Right.
You got 300 years. Get your affairs.
That made her feel some type of way. See, the millennial dudes sometimes they gonna throw some shots back there, back and forth. I didn't really get into that part yet, but maybe in the future I will. Maybe I'll just focus on millennials. All right, let's see. Sounds like a 19-year-old girl just graduated from high school. Shout out to Preference and Passion, double P's in the building. Yeah, bro, if a dude chooses to deal with these type of chicks with all the info about them, this dude deserves everything that's gonna happen to him. Yeah, you already know that part. And she heard that 300 years, yo. Oh man, she wanted to go across the screen and reach out and wring his neck like Homer Simpson does the Bart. Let me see this again.
Get your affairs. Get your affairs. You got 300 years. Get your affairs in order.
Right. I did recently.
Damn, my man said you get 300 years and she ain't gonna be live for that. So there's Jasmine Crockett again. And this is what I know is with millennial daggles. This is why they all love fat joints. Because she can stand out. Look. Crockett stands out amongst all these daggles. This is an old one. She probably was a freaknik back in the day. That's a boomer. That might be a boomer. That might be a boomer. Gen Xer, boomerish. Gen Xer, millennial-ish. Gen Xer, millennial-ish. Gen Xer, millennial-ish. And probably millennial in the background. So she stands out amongst the daggles, right? She stands out like a poodle daggle amongst the wild dogs out here. She stands out. You know what I'm saying? She stands out. And then millennials also, with terms of generational wealth, they're the only generation that the women are leading in the community. Yes, I said that. Gen X, it was a power struggle. But by the time millennials reached adulthood, the women already taken over. They're already taken over. That's why Jasmine Crockett is popular. I don't even know the dude from Louisiana with the afro. I forget his name. If I get his name, I'll play it real quick. But they pulled him out the building and everything. He doesn't have the clout that Jasmine Crockett has. I'm even trying to think of the male politicians that are millennials. Hakeem Jeffries is Gen X. That's the Democrats. Cory Booker is Gen X. The millennials are majority women. Now, the Republicans, though, J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is a millennial. He's a year after me, 84. J.D. Vance. There's a lot of hope for the millennials outside of the community. I really believe that. J.D. Vance going in is a big one. But if you are in the community, you believe in the community Bible, especially the New Testament, this is your future right here. This is who you got to send praise to and worship and speak tongues to right here. If you don't, you are a blasphemer. You're committing blasphemy. And with that, I'm going to end the show right there. Shout out to JB Designs one last time. I'm thankful for black male conservatives who are doing everything in their power to disassociate the black male image from Keisha and her shenanigans. They're out here making rap videos about it. Example, abortion. Okay, I'll check that out. I do think there are some conservatives though that are kind of folding, like Bryson Gray. Master Ray was a libertarian, so you don't count him. But like ABL, I appreciate it, Clue. I'm gonna check your stuff out too, Clue. I gotta check it out. I gotta be on there one day. Clue be dropping them fire strains, bro. But I think that generational wealth that millennials are gonna give is not gonna be the generational wealth that these kids want. Gen Xer kids, as much as you say, they do have something. Shout out to JB Designs. His parents were Gen Xers. So Gen Xers, while they, as long as you ain't in the community, you good. But millennials, I think they're too far gone. So if you find a millennial that's not in the community, if you do, the sniff test, shout out to Trey, might have to be a little harder. Like I would do the sniff test by generations. Boomers, I don't know. How do you sniff test a boomer? Like, do you ask them about Rodney King, or do you ask them about Tawana Bradley or Bernie Gates? Who's the name that you could throw out there? Because Gen X, Rodney King was kind of more Gen X than anything. Like, I think that was the one that started it all. After Rodney King, they upped the ante on riots. Like Rodney King was like the premier riot, and then it went to George Floyd. But George Floyd has surpassed Rodney King. So the millennials, in terms of fuckery, has surpassed Gen Xers. They finally have. They used to rely on their education. Oh, we're more educated than the Gen Xers. We don't have babies like the Gen Xers in teenage years. We don't, because they're born. So we're better. But I have to say, after doing this show, because I had a thought about the next, I got to change my mind, because unless they're part of that community, and I think the Gen Xers are probably the most vocal of the generations of the New Testament that are not as with the community. Like, you see a lot of them. They might have been at one time or another, but they have changed their ways. You don't see that with millennials. You see sometimes the millennials might express it, but as soon as a Carmelo Anthony happens, as soon as a George Floyd happens, they gonna switch. So shout out to Trey. I think the sniff test should be passed harder if you find out they're a millennial, because millennials carry that racial bias with them. Even though they, out of all the generations, grew up, went to school with white people and other races, the most. There was no segregation if you grew up as a millennial. Let's get to that. There was no segregation. Millennials here grew up in the suburbs. Some grew up in the neighborhood with white people. Shout out to Detroit. Shout out to upstate New York. Shout out to Pennsylvania, Florida. So they grew up with white people. So it's kind of crazy now that they carry this energy with them. Gen Xers wish they had the opportunities the millennials had. Online schools. You can go online and just pass your class and get a degree. You get your certifications in tech. The CDL tests are easier back then. Can you imagine doing a CDL test in the 90s with those gritty teachers? Could you imagine that? To be honest, the suburban blacks have no reasons to beg for reparations or complain about it. That's a fact. I even think the poor ones do too. I put all of them in it. Yeah, shout out to the suburbs, man. Like, I went to Georgia one time, man, and I went to, I think it was South Georgia on 95, and I just loved it over there. And I used to hear from millennials, "Oh, the South is racist. You shouldn't go down there. They're gonna, because you're a skin, they're gonna hate you." And I used to think, like, what? Man, you know how many pharmaceuticals I made money off of white people? You think I'm scared of them? I made money off with them. They were my good customers. And I used to think that. I was like, bro, you going to college with them. PWI. You play basketball with them. And they even went down. They even wanted to learn your culture. So that's how bad they wanted to be down. And out of all the generations, the millennial white generation wanted to be down the most. So for my Gen Zs, this is why you see the angst coming from the white Gen Zers, because they mad at the millennials. Don't get it twisted. I think the millennials are going to be awakened to some smoke they never saw before. And on that note, I'm out of here, man. I appreciate everybody who came in. Shout out to Clue, JB Designs, Let's Serve the Free Zone Lou, A Truism, Deacon Dave, Preface and Passion, the Emperor, Josh Johnson. Man, we had everybody. Who was everybody in this stream today, man? If I'm gonna go check out some streams, I'm gonna go pack up. I gotta go to North Carolina today. I'm gonna go have some fun over there. I appreciate everybody that came on, man. Appreciate that, man. Do not, and I repeat, do not fall into that trap of this generational wealth, man. Do not fall into that trap, man. Oh, yeah, one more thing, man. One more thing. This is wrestling related, but I had to talk about it. I was going to play it. Shelton Benjamin and Hulk Hogan. Let me do this real quick. I'm going to do this real quick. Let me do this before I go. I wanted to talk about this real quick. So, Shelton Benjamin and Hulk Hogan have been going at it in social media. And Shelton Benjamin took offense to Hulk Hogan mentioning his name, that he knows him. This is the legend, Hulk Hogan, the legend. Wrestling wouldn't be what it is without Hulk Hogan. Shelton Benjamin writes, message to Hulk Hogan. You lost me forever with your don't get caught, as you would call it, apology speech. So rather than screw up my name and pretend we ever had some sort of camaraderie, we never had, please do me a favor, and then throws the Will Smith clip on it. Keep my name out your effing mouth with the dag on the background. Shelton Benjamin, the dude who never made it out of nowhere. This is Shelton Benjamin right here, with Missy Hyatt, and that's Bobby Lashley right there. Shelton Benjamin. I like Shelton, but Shelton, you wrong for dissing Hulk Hogan. You wrong, brother. You wrong, man. I don't care what Hulk Hogan said in his private session is his private session. Let's play this real quick before I go. Gave him a compliment. Look at this dude. Hulk Hogan's a racist piece of ish. F Hulk Hogan. The nerve of you. The nerve of you. Got to be from Baltimore, too. There's a Baltimore dude with a Baltimore Raven, of course. Metallica wanting Hulk Hogan to be their bass player will always be my favorite Hulk Hogan lie. You niggas lie every day. You know what I'm saying? Hulk Hogan gave him props. And this is what he did. This is what nippers do. And that's the pro-blackism of Gen X right there in a nutshell. And this is why you will always... Yeah, Shelton. Go address Vince McMahon first before you address the Hulkster. All right? I'm out of here, man. Peace out, man. Thank you, everybody. Let me see. Oh, you can't see it? Let me share it one more time. Hold on, I got you. Let me share it one last time. Now, let's do that. I don't know if you couldn't see it. If you couldn't see it, hold on. So, Hulk Hogan was giving him a compliment. Here we go.
Really tough guys.
Really crazy wrestlers. Like I got
hold on, my bad, Clue.
Right after he left the UFC.
Great guys like Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar, you know, they're Benjamin Shelton. There's some really tough guys.
Yep. You hear we mentioned Benjamin Shelton with or Shelton Benjamin? Kurt Angle, Olympic gold medalist, and Brock Lesnar. He put him in there like he didn't know him. Come on, bro. Let me play, you know.
Great guys like Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar, you know, they're Benjamin Shelton. There's some really tough guys.
Really crazy wrestlers. Like I got Brock Lesnar right after he left the UFC. I got him first. I got Kurt Angle when his eyeballs used to roll back like a shark and he'd come after me. You know, Benjamin Shelton, all these different guys that I've had the opportunity to see adapt to our business.
Great guys like...
Man, Hogan give you the cosign is like, come on, man. Sorry about that, Clue. But, you know, that's a cosign right there. If anything, that is a cosign. Now, let me do this real quick. Let me show this comment before I go. All right, so this was the response. Shelton Benjamin writes, message to Hulk Hogan. At Hulk Hogan, you lost me forever with your don't get caught, as you would call it, apology speech. So rather than screw up my name and pretend we ever had any sort of camaraderie, which we never had, please do me a favor and keep my name out of your effing mouth. He's giving you props. See, this is that Gen X. This is Gen X in the community-ish. And this is the gentleman right here. Benjamin Shelton, Bobby Lashley, Missy Hyatt. You notice they never say nothing about the white joints. They only have their hatred for the white man. That's some Gen X-ish right there, if anything. This is him. This is him. Talking about racism, yet you got a blonde hair. You looking like Butch Reed out here back in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Like, you never will be on the level of Hulk Hogan. Never. You know what I'm saying? So, this is why You're forever. Yeah. So deal with that first before you talk about the Hulkster, man. I'm out. Peace out, everybody. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Let me edge you out with one of my favorite songs, man.